Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen's meeting for July the 25th. It's nice to see a nice crowd here this evening, so welcome. To start with, we will have a public hearing, and we have about 6 items on the agenda for public hearings tonight. So we'll start with, I'll read the caption for the public hearings, and if you're here and wish to speak on that, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. First, a public hearing on a request to rezone the property at 95 Avoca Lake Road from a single-family residence zoning district, Coffee County, UGB RS1 to low-density residential zoning district in Tellahoma R1. Is there anyone care to speak on that? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. Number 2, a public hearing on a request to rezone the property at 701 East Grizzard Street from 406 North College from medium-density residential to R2 high-density residential, and we be rezoning that to residential R3. Anyone care to speak on that rezoning? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. A public hearing on a request for the city to designate as surplus real property to sell an area that's 50 feet wide by 810 feet in length. That's 40,500 square feet. That's inside of the East Deckard Street. That's the right-of-way adjacent to 343 South Anderson Street, 403 South Anderson Street, 407 East Deckard Street, 409 East Deckard Street, and 415 East Deckard Street. Anyone care to speak on that surplus property sale? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. Number 4, a public hearing on a request for the city to designate as surplus real property for sale 127 West Lincoln Street. Anyone care to speak on that? Seeing none, we'll close that public hearing. Number 5, a public hearing to request for the city to designate as surplus real property the sale of 411 East Carroll Street. Is there anyone who would care to speak on East Carroll Street resale?
Can you please state your name?
Yep, it's Daniel
And
Wallace.
Address?
That's 411 East Carroll's where the business is.
Okay, Mr. Carroll, you're recognized.
So just wanted to say, we've been leasing that property for the last 6 years. And so we saw, last week that it was going to be up for surplus. And just wanted to try to understand exactly what all that was going to mean, because they were saying in that I guess there was going to be an opportunity maybe to lease it or sell it, and just highly concerned about being able to stay in that facility and keep on operating there.
Okay, would you please schedule a meeting with our city planner so you can go over that in detail?
Okay.
Could you do that? They'd be glad to give you all the details that you need.
But so if it gets surplus this afternoon, though, is that something that I can still negotiate that lease to keep going, or what exactly is going to happen there? Because we've been trying to get that place purchased, or we need to. Just wanted to see exactly what all that was going to entail it being surplus.
Well, this is strictly a public hearing, and we got your input, and please schedule that visit with our city planner.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
You're not recognized. Numbers, okay, does anyone else care to speak on that 411 East Carroll?
I would. Public hearing, and I'm still a citizen.
You're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not sure. Generally, this is kind of the first time that we've ever had somebody come up and speak to the public hearing, but shouldn't the individuals who lease those properties be notified prior to us having a public hearing? It's a little surprising to me that they weren't notified first. And so if that's not generally what we've been doing, then I would think that that's something we definitely need to be doing when it comes to surplus real property. And this is just a genuine question of, I'm curious as to why we don't do that.
Your point's well taken. Thank you. Close the public hearing. Public hearing number 6, a public hearing on the adoption of the Think Tellahoma 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Before we go into recognizing those that are here to speak, I'd like to first ask Ms. Mary Samaniego, our city planning director, to give an overview of how that plan has evolved, how it's come to be, and perhaps it will answer some questions that those of you who may not have had an opportunity to yet read those 246 pages. So I'll recognize Ms. Mary Samaniego.
Thank you, Mary Samaniego for the record. Good evening. I'm happy to present to the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Aldermen the Think Tellahoma 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The Comprehensive Plan is a document to guide the future development of the city. It is an advisory document meant to be reviewed prior to land use and development decisions. The Comprehensive Plan and its maps are not the same as the zoning ordinance and zoning maps, which permit legal development rights. The city of Tellahoma has had a comprehensive plan since the early 1960s. The latest version of the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2012. It is common planning practice to revise or approve a new comprehensive plan about every 5 to 10 years. This Board of Mayor and Aldermen voted to begin the process of creating a new comprehensive plan with the hiring of the Walker Collaborative Consulting Group a year and a half ago. The Walker Collaborative Group was specifically selected by this board because it includes a nationally recognized fellow of certified planners, a world-renowned economist, an urban designer specializing in small towns, and a transportation planner that is also a Tullahoma native. It is vital for a comprehensive plan to be based solely on the ideas and desires of as many of the residents and business owners of Tullahoma as possible, and not the ideas or desires of the consultants or the planning staff. Because of this, the planning city staff and the consultants have made a huge effort to get as many ideas and hear as many concerns from the public as possible. A website was created so the public could monitor the progress of the plan draft. 7 presentations and public input meetings were completed over the past year with over 500 total participants, with some residents attending all of the meetings. A mailer was sent out to every household in the city limits requesting public input. An online survey was created on the project website with over 1,000 people completing that online survey. Multiple newspaper articles and ads have been published about the project. City staff participated in area radio shows, podcasts, and television interviews about the plan requesting public input. The consultants interviewed over 100 community leaders and government departments to ensure that the plan incorporates those entities' individual plans and goals to ensure that the plan can be implemented, given the existing and projected infrastructure of the city. The Walker Collaborative took all the information from the public input, as well as the data collected from the currently adopted plans, studies, and ordinances on the existing conditions of the city to create a draft plan. This draft plan was released for public review and comments over 3 months ago. Staff created a database on the project website to collect all public input for each page of the plan. The draft plan was then taken to the steering committee for formal review and editing. The steering committee included the school board superintendent, the city engineer, representatives from TUA, representatives from TAEDC, Vanderbilt Hospital, the chamber, the housing authority, city staffs, and members of the development community. The steering committee reviewed the plan page by page over several days and debated various policy decisions within the plans. Even though there were many different opinions among the steering committee members, a consensus was reached on recommendations for changes to the plan that was then sent to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission then in turn met for 2 public meetings over 7 hours to go through the plan draft with the steering committee's recommendations page by page. The Planning Commission held a public hearing for adoption of the plan on July 7th, 2022, and it was unanimously approved. According to Tennessee statute, the plan was adopted by the Planning Commission as an advisory document. That means it can be reviewed by the city when making land use and development decisions, but it's not required to be. The Planning Commission has recommended that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen adopt the plan as well. Again, according to Tennessee statutes, and as stated in the adoption ordinance before you, If the board adopts the plan, it then must be reviewed for consistency when making land use and development decisions. The board tonight may adopt the plan as presented by the Planning Commission. They can continue the public hearing for further review or recommend sending the plan back to the Planning Commission for reconsideration of specific issues. Let me briefly outline what is and what is not included in the plan. The overall vision of the plan is to maintain and enhance the many assets of Tellahoma, including the downtown, the school system, your strong economic base, and your natural and park areas, while at the same time providing for slow and controlled growth. The plan includes a place type map that recommends what types of uses should be in what specific areas of the city. The place type map is not the same as the zoning map, and the place type map does not guarantee any development rights for any property in the city. The place type map is an outline, and the planning map is the law. The comprehensive plan before you tonight does not change zoning of any property in the city of Tullahoma. The plan also includes a mobility section to ensure that roads and the much requested sidewalk systems are improved to serve current residents as well as the anticipated impact of growth. Similarly, there are sections of the plan for utility infrastructure, schools, parks, city facilities, and environmental areas to ensure that the amount of growth within the plan can be supported by these entities to the benefit of city residents and not to their detriment. There are sections of the plan that promote increased vitality and opportunity for improvements of downtown, strengthening the economic base, and providing for more housing options. So that is what generally is included in the plan before you tonight. What is not in the plan are any zoning changes to any property in the city, especially the property in vicinity of Terra Estates and Macon Manor. Unfortunately, some information has been spread around town regarding that project. If you review your staff report packet, you will see that a specific subdivision plat or site plan for that property is not included in your packet. Once a rezoning application is filed for that property, the site plan will be reviewed by the Development Advisory Committee members against all applicable codes and plans, taken to the Planning Commission for public hearing with adjoining property owners notified of the meeting and signs posted on the properties, and then 2 subsequent public hearings before this board. I have made many attempts to educate the public about this potential rezoning and will continue to make myself available to talk to anyone and answer any questions in my office. In conclusion, I do want to thank all the residents, business owners, and you, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, with investing so much time, money, and energy into this comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary Samaniego. I appreciate that comprehensive review. At this time, I'd like to ask one of the people who serves on the steering committee, Ms. Dr. Katrine Stevens.
Yes,
Stevens.
thank you. I am a resident, 303 Setters Lane West, and oftentimes I come before you to talk about the school system, so I can't hesitate and take this time to share that we had our convocation today. Everybody's back. We had a wonderful morning, and in 1 week, our students return, and we're very excited to welcome them back. I'm here this evening as a citizen of Tellahoma and a member of the steering committee for the Think Tellahoma 2040 Master Plan. That's coming to you this evening for adoption, I believe, on one of 2 readings. It is certainly my hope that you will support the plan. Over the course of the year-long process, there were outstanding professionals hired, as Ms. Samaniego alluded to, their background and their talent in this work. The steering committee, which I was honored to be a part of, consisted of a very diverse group of community leaders and participants from all areas across the city. This really did provide a rich perspective and conversations that ensued as varying topics arose. There were so many opportunities for citizens to engage. At every elementary school, there was a meeting. At the high school, multiple times there were meetings, and I was privileged to attend many of those. My husband attended many of those. It was enriching to hear what are the thoughts, ideas, wonderings, questions that citizens had, and this information went to those experts as they really considered and listened and tried to map out a potential plan that will move us into the future. I also know that survey results played a role, other forms of data played a role, and I think when you merge multiple viewpoints, data, perspectives, you get to an end result that can be very strong for a community. So I certainly hope this evening that you will adopt the master plan. I certainly am in support of it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. So at this time, we'll open the public hearing to those who have a desire to speak on the comp plan. And we have a list of signees who have registered who want to speak. The city recorder will read the names of those who've signed in and they want to speak, and as your name is called, please come forward. And after, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. After you've spoken, please make room for other people in the room who might want to come in to speak. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing on the adoption of the Think Tellahoma 2040 comp plan. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address.
I'm looking for a Mr. Paul Schuler, maybe?
Swear.
Swear you recognized.
1913 Bel Air.
Yes, I'm Mr. Paul Schwer, 1913 Bel Air Drive for the record. I just come in here speaking to the board, Mr. Mayor, thank you for putting this together. Speaking to the board in my support of the comprehensive plan. I had the opportunity as a citizen to participate in various engagements with the city at the Tellahoma High School Lecture Hall, where everyone coordinated there at the individual elementary schools, as well as the working meeting at the high school. And I felt like the citizen involvement was over the top, really. The Walker Collective actually commented in that same way. We had 1,100, a little over 1,100 people fill out a survey. One of the main things to note of that survey is that I was identifying the lack of multifamily housing and the desire for a master plan community as well. And I think that's identified in this plan, gives us a good direction to move towards. I think that's all I have. I appreciate your time. Thank you, and I hope that you adopt the plan tonight.
For those of you who are going to be speaking, I'll note that our city recorder will hold a card up to let you know when you have so many seconds left and when your time is up. So just look out for that. So you may call the next speaker.
Elizabeth Bowling on Forest Drive, please.
Ms. Bowling, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've come tonight to ask you that you do not vote to accept the comprehensive plan as proposed. I participated in some of the community involvement with this plan, but I think first what the planner spoke to, saying that this plan does not impact zoning, is not true. There's a couple of points about it. To say that this plan doesn't have an impact on zoning is untrue, because the comprehensive plan is used as a factor by the Planning Commission when reviewing future land use expectations. So this is something that they will look to, and that the city would be forced to look at to say, oh, well, we need to be in line with the comprehensive plan for future land use. The AG's office has opinions online that you can find that speak to the impact of a comprehensive plan on future land use. And that, so by looking at this, which it's unclear because there's the place zone of traditional neighborhood new, which if you dig through, and I have read all 246 pages of this plan, it says that a traditional neighborhood new is high density. So one of the problems that I think a lot of people are here about is the change from the 200-acre parcel that is currently agricultural to a traditional neighborhood new. So to say, and if you look on page 107 and 111, I believe, of the plan, it says to implement this comprehensive plan, you would rezone the properties to be in match with the place use in the comprehensive plan. So if this is adopted by the board and then it is to be implemented, then the rezoning will be in place. That's the purpose of this plan, is to look at what is the current land use, what's future land use, and then on page 107 and 111 it says implementation involves rezoning. So I have an issue with the going from the planning with the zone overlay currently R1, R2, R3, where you can look and see clearly, and then these made-up place types that have been used in the comprehensive plan, where there should be a key that says, okay, this is R1 is this, R2 is this, and you have to read through this long plan to see that traditional neighborhood new is high density. According to the plan, that's what it says. It also says in the plan on page 44 that the zoning overlay, current zoning overlay, allows for growth in Tellahoma to up to 58,000 residents. So my question would be, why would we need to change any zoning, lower density to higher density, if there's already current zoning that would allow growth to triple the size of Tellahoma? And then finally, I think this comprehensive plan plays to attracting people who, the people, I live in Tellahoma, I was born here, and I live here because I like the small community. I could live wherever I wanted, and I choose to live here because I want to be part of the community. This plan, an increasing density of zoning areas, would attract people who are interested in how close we are to the interstate so that they can commute. So this plan, I think, yes, there's need for development guidelines. You can look around at some of the houses being built and see that. But for land use, I think this plan can change us quickly from a small town to Spring Hill to Antioch, which I don't think that we want to become. So,
Thank you, Ms. Bowling. Thank you, Ms. Bowling.
so those are my points to this. This comprehensive plan would change the nature of Tellahoma and to actively recruit. So
Did she?
I'm giving her my 2 minutes. Donna.
It's 3, thank you.
3 minutes. She has
Thank you. And
Sorry,
what's
I
your
thought-
name?
Donna Askins.
Thank you.
I'm on the list of
Thank you, Donna.
So this comprehensive plan would change the nature of Tellahoma and to actively recruit outside developers who have no interest in the town and what they're developing, but are purely chasing money for building and leaving. I don't think is what we want to encourage, and especially not something that we would want to incentivize. So if you so there's a need to have, like I said, there's a need to have a development plan. I understand the need for a comprehensive plan, but to have it focus on maintaining the small town of Tellahoma. The plan also states that there's an expected growth or need. We have current households of 8,000 in Tellahoma, and in accordance with the comprehensive plan, although I understand that the PUD that has been being worked with the planning department is not up for a vote tonight, but the comprehensive plan would allow that to change currently rural and agricultural land to a high-density neighborhood, and it would create 553 new units, which is what this plan says is needed over quite some period of time. So you're talking about a current household unit of 8,000 in Tellahoma, and then if in accordance with this plan you allowed a PUD to come in, then it could change by 10, what is that, 8%? The number of units. That's what we saw in 10 years of growth. So yes, growth is coming and we need to plan for it, but we need to plan for it in a way that Tellahoma maintains its unique and small town feel. And we don't want to be a bedroom community where people are renting and driving to Nashville or to Murfreesboro. Those people don't have the buy-in in the community that people who live here and work here do. So live, work, play, it seems like that used to be a tagline. Maybe not for Tullahoma, maybe it was for another area, but that's what we want. We want people who are going to live here and work here and play here. We don't want to be advertised as we're 10 minutes from the interstate, because that's not the characteristics that the Tellahoma that I know and that people that I know want Tellahoma to be. So if I have any remaining time, then I will give that away.
That's
10
not-
seconds.
That's not appropriate. In fact, this meeting, we're not allocating time to someone else to speak for you. So everyone who's registered to speak will be given an opportunity to speak. Okay, who's next? Is it recorded?
Daniel Wallace, did you want to speak in regards to this? Okay, thank you. Next would be Marvin Seller on Terra Boulevard.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Marvin Sellers, and I've lived in Tellahoma for 41 years. My primary reason for selecting Tellahoma was the small town living. While it's grown over the years, Tullahoma still feels like a small town. My concerns are with the wording of the Tullahoma 2040 plan rezoning proposals that will result in changes to make us look more like a small Murfreesboro. Although the committee changed the urban traditional neighborhood new to suburban residential low, TN optional, the density definition still allows for 20% high density. That's up to 28 units per acre. And while 70% should be single-family residential, that could still be up to 4 units per acre. The density in form is greater than, this definition is still greater than the suburban neighborhood medium. While the density in form states that the density should be compatible with the surrounding areas, no provisions keep the developer from putting quarter-acre lot homes next to adjacent neighborhoods with half to 1 acre lots. Under the under the potential land use section, page 34, future build-out scenarios based purely on existing land use policies indicates 14,576 units could be built with an estimated additional 36,586 residents. That would increase the total population to more than 58,000. That's almost 3 times the current value. Also, market analysis, and this is from the report, market analysis says 450 to 900 units of all types are projected to be needed in the next 4 years. The conclusion of the consultants in this report states the city's current zoning features much more residentially zoned land than will be needed to satisfy market demand for many years to come. Therefore, I would like to see the 2040 plan vote delayed so the proposed rezoning definitions are revised to eliminate the TNN option from the suburban low definition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sellers. Next.
Kathy Manis on Autumn Lane, please. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Manis, you're recognized. You passed? Okay, next.
John Manis. Passed, okay. Looks like Telma, 308 Terra. Terry.
Terry Slugger, you recognized?
Could you spell your last name?
Sure. Flagger, Pfleger. Terry Flagger.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was
about
writing fast.
Yep.
And Terra Boulevard, yes.
Yes.
I just want to say that I would like the board also to postpone the voting and adapting this, because I don't feel, even though I participated in the survey, I participated in this, it was a think Telehoma. It was like big picture. It wasn't like, when I saw this plan for the first time after May, it was nothing like the survey I took or we participated in. So although people said they wanted 55 and older and they wanted places to rent and they wanted single-family living, they didn't want it all in one place and they didn't want it all around town. I mean, I looked at a map and we have places going all over and it's growing rapidly. And I think that the wording of the 2040 plan is a major concern. And to be honest with you, I haven't even seen a plan that wasn't redlined. I mean, you guys are trying to pass a plan that's redlined. There's not even a final plan. I mean, I looked at the thing today and it's still got red lines on it. Not only isn't that professional, but I just don't think that's appropriate to, I don't know, the red lines mean yes, no, I don't know. I'm not a red line person. So I ask that you postpone that till we can take away the red lines, discuss and talk amongst yourself. And my understanding with speaking with many board members is you actually have never gotten together and even talked about this plan, not even once. So I think that's really important before you can pass something or not pass something, to at least have a conversation together. So I ask you to postpone it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flagger.
Mike Barnes, 12 Oaks Road.
Mr. Barnes, you're recognized.
Good evening. Mike Barnes, 901 12 Oaks Road. For the record, I just wanted to go over a few things. I know there's a lot of facts and figures and numbers that go along with all this, but I just wanted to talk through 2 points that I think everybody needs to listen to. Regarding that property behind Terra Estates, the residents have attempted to gain information on what's contained in the plan and what a board vote tonight really means. Now, granted, as we've heard, there were other opportunities. Maybe we're a little late to the game. Could be. But the plan has been changing a lot as the months have gone by, and I think some of our information has been quite limited. So we reached out to city officials, including aldermen, and we've repeatedly been told a couple of things, and I want to repeat those. One is a response from city representatives. The 2040 plan has nothing to do with rezoning. And as we talked a little bit already in a couple of comments, it does. It's there. You can read it. It talks about the specific properties that would need to be rezoned as part of the plan. And hey, we understand that this vote is not to rezone property. This vote is on the plan. It doesn't rezone a single piece of property tonight. But it does display the intent of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen that that's what you want to do. If you adopt the plan, that's your intent, is to rezone as outlined in the plan. Can you argue that? I don't think anybody can. If you're voting on a plan and you adopt the plan, you're saying we intend to do what's in the plan. It establishes clearly the intent to rezone specific properties for specific housing types contained in the 111-page portion of the document. The second thing, the 2040 plan has nothing to do with the Anderson Farm property. Heard that multiple times. Has nothing to do with the Anderson Farm property, which is the property behind Terra, in case some of you don't know that. Clearly it does. It's right there on the maps in the 2040 plan. Table A5 talks about pages 52 and 56. If you read out of the table, it says, adopt new zoning for urban areas in this part of the plan. Time frame, 1 year. You can go read it. And yes, it includes the high density designations, which I know most people in the room know what that means as far as this plan is concerned, but it's up to 15 homes per acre. Oh, it's 20 now? Okay. Last time I read it, it was 15. Okay, 20. Up to 20 per acre. Sounds like a lot. We just don't understand why we're receiving answers like this. These responses, along with a litany of changing acronyms and densities and everything else, just point out the basic issue that, this plan intends to place high-density homes on a property with a minimum total count of 526 homes, and the only conclusion the residents have come up with recently, granted, we had opportunities to talk more months ago, but recently, and there's been a lot of conversation over the last 2 to 3 weeks, when given these types of responses, they just don't align with what we read in the 2040 plan. And unfortunately, that makes us think that the city's purposely giving misleading answers. So based on the nature of this recent communication, you've lost our trust on this.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes.
And I've got over 500 signatures I can provide after the meeting of other residents that also want to delay the vote.
Next up would be Penny Barnes, 12 Oaks Road. Kevin Yulheim, is that right? Yulheim? Greenville Court. Granville.
Mr. Uline, you recognized?
My name's Kevin Uline. I live at 105 Granville Court, Macon Manor. I'd just like to say briefly that I've emailed each of you. Appreciate the responses I got and the information. So I disagree with the draft plan as it's proposed. I'd like to see it postponed, the approval postponed. There's several things in it I disagree with. Most of it has already been covered tonight, but there's language in there that I don't agree with. The high density language is all over it. I disagree with that as well. I disagree with the executive summary right up front. It talks about, recommends that regional and national residential developers be recruited through a range of approaches of incentives. You know, bringing outside folks in to buy up a property, they have nothing to do with Tellahoma and no interest. I disagree with that. I have read through the majority of the plan, and the infrastructure bothers me. The language in there, and there's I don't know, 8 or 9 pages of it, and it's real fluffy. There's not a lot of detail, and it doesn't address things I mentioned in my email to you all about what's the city's plan to address the infrastructure to handle all the proposed neighborhoods that's in the plan. They're not addressed. And the roads, the comments about expanding 2 roads is, it's a pie in the sky. It's not realistic. But I'd also like to see things that were addressed up front in the plan, such as the loss of jobs recently, minimum job growth, 18.3% poverty rate, and those things addressed by the city. You know, we need jobs here in town to fill these houses instead of just building houses and hoping folks will come. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Uline.
Charles Dean, Arbor Marble.
Donate my time to another speaker. I'd like to donate that to George Wilson. We're not donating time tonight to others. It's everyone has an opportunity to speak. Be given an opportunity to. We're not
Mr.
donating
Mayor, I
time.
have to object to that.
It's in our rules.
No, it's not.
We're not. It's in.
Next up to speak, Ken Fagler, maybe?
It's not in our rules.
Mayor, I do want to clarify. I'm in agreement with Alderman Almacher. Are we not? Don't we usually allow for gifting of time? Gifting, for lack of a better.
We do.
Of time. And I don't want to, but I'm just wanting to make sure that we are abiding by our rules. And if that was stated beforehand, I must have missed that. But my understanding is that we can do that.
If it's the will of the board to allow donation of time, then if you are going to donate your time, you will need to advise the city recorder your name, your address, come to the podium, state your name and address, and to whom you are donating your time. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Dean was next.
Charles Dean, did you want to donate your time to somebody?
Charles Dean, 419 Albemarle Drive. Donate my time to Mr. George Wilson. Thank you.
No, we'll call next up.
Next up was Ken Fagler, maybe?
I'm sorry. Can I donate my time to Mr. Wilson also while I'm here, or wait?
What was your name?
Cindy Watson, 803
Cindy
Road.
Watson. Did you sign up downstairs?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you want yours to go to George Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else?
Terry Job, I'm going to donate my time to Ken Flagler.
You're going to have to wait a second. Your first name again?
Terry Job.
Terry, did you sign up downstairs?
I did.
Terry Job, you're donating to?
Ken Flagler.
Ken Fligler. LPFL.
Lance Askins, 806 12 Oaks. And I'll donate my time, 3 minutes to Ken also.
Now, let me find you, Lance. You signed up downstairs?
I did.
Donate to him.
Lance Askin to Ken Fligger.
Anyone else? Come on up.
My name is Jim Payne, 907 12 Oaks Road. For the record, donate my time to Ken Fletcher.
Then just stand right there till I get it. Jim Payne?
Payne, P-A-Y-N-E.
Gotcha. And you're donating to?
Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Coming next. Anyone else? They don't need time.
Manis at the beginning. I don't know if they want to.
No, they'd passed, I thought, that because they wanted.
Anyone else that wants to donate time?
Kathy Menace or John Manis?
Yeah, I'd like to donate my time to George.
George, last name?
Wilson.
Wilson.
George Wilson.
Thank you. John Manis?
Pass.
He did pass.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the lobby?
There's a gentleman.
Apparently, I have quite a bit of time, but I don't know if I'll be able to fill it all. So when I am finished, I would ask that my remaining time be donated to George Wilson.
And you are Ken?
Yes.
And I believe, Ken, it is going to be your turn.
How many minutes do you have?
I'm going to do that.
We'll give you your minutes in just a second.
Oh. Okay. 3 plus 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 12. 12 plus his original 3, so would that be 15? Yeah.
So you have 15 minutes.
Do you need water?
Time for a sermon.
There you go.
Go ahead. Flagger, you recognized.
All right, Ken Flagger, and I'm at 308 Terra Boulevard. Thank you, Mayor. Just want to make it known for the record that I do oppose the 2040 comprehensive plan. I would ask that it be postponed on its vote. There are multiple areas that you've heard from people that have spoken already that they're very concerned about what's in the plan, and that if it's the true meaning of what the city of Tullahoma wants. Obviously, there were a lot of people that were involved in this between then and when it was started a year and a half ago and today. But I fear that there are a lot of citizens that were not made aware of it and have not had an opportunity to know what all those comments and discussions turned into in terms of a plan. I think they deserve the right to be able to see it and ask their questions and express their concerns to the city council in order to get changes made in the right direction for Tellahoma. Specifically to the plan, I would ask that we take a hard look at the high-density verbiage that's in the plan, specifically page 43 and 48, where it adds TNN optional to the suburban level low. I believe TNN optional should be stricken completely from those 2 pages, and anywhere else that TNN optional is associated with suburban level low. It takes the lowest level of suburban and jumps it to the urban category completely above all suburban levels. That just does not seem appropriate at all, in my opinion, and obviously the opinion of a lot of other people, too. As was mentioned earlier, we have petitions from over 500 people, and we just started collecting these within the last 2 weeks. I mean, that's not a lot of time. So given, literally 6 days, more time to talk to more people, and we may have thousands, who knows. But the whole purpose of this is not to go, we got all these names. These are the people of Tellahoma, and if that number outpaces those that were involved in the beginning and voiced their opinions, were a part of the survey, that says something. And you really have to take your time and listen to that, because I thought this whole comprehensive plan should be established for the benefit of the inhabitants of Tellahoma primarily. I mean, it's the people that live here. It's their town. I wasn't born here. I was in the service for a career, so I spent my time traveling around the world. I've seen a lot of places. I grew up in a town of 3,500, very small. And then I've lived in cities as big as 100, 200,000. I've seen what cities can become, and I don't want to see that happen to Tellahoma. Murfreesboro is right down the street. It's a very easy place. A lot of people go shopping there. You can take one drive through there and see what could happen. I'm not saying it will, but to me, it's an example of when planning goes wrong. The town's kind of a mess, and it's growing rapidly, probably too rapidly for its own good. And I just don't want to see that happen to Tellahoma, and I don't think a lot of people in town want to see that happen either. Everybody likes reasonable growth, but I think the plan itself is indicating much too rapid growth. So that was the gist of my offering to the City Council today. Again, over 500 signatures in 6 days. That just tells me there's a lot of people out there that are concerned about this, and there may be a heck of a lot more, which makes those that were involved previously, it may dwarf that. And I just want to make sure that the people at Tullahoma have a chance to speak. And if there's any time remaining, I would ask that it be donated to George Wilson, and he can donate some more to another speaker afterwards.
Thank you, Mr. Player.
Thank you.
Let's have Mr. George Wilson come up. And you have 12 minutes of donated time and 11 minutes from Ken. So you've got
All right. Well,
23 minutes.
I appreciate all the donated time. I hope I don't disappoint anybody. For the record, I am Dr. George Wilson. My address is 408 Albemarle Drive. I'm speaking before the board and mayor of Aldermen, but I'm trying to speak to the people of Tullahoma. It is true that a city or town needs a plan for growth, a plan that has specific goals, what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. It is even more important that every city or town have a philosophy, why you are doing what you are doing, why you are not doing what you are not doing. That philosophy gives a plan a soul. The 2040 plan is soulless. I came here today to enumerate the incredibly long list of things wrong with this plan. Legal things, moral things, ethical things. But all of you already know all of that, and it does not seem like you care. In discussions with aldermen about this plan, different aldermen have different answers, different information, and different explanations. Possibly that's because of what's already been cited. This plan was prepped, disseminated, commented on, and redlined. There is no final plan. As far as the plans that everybody keeps talking about, Mr. Alderman Berry has said multiple times that the information that's being disseminated is wrong or inaccurate. This is a letter from Mary Samniago, the city planner. All of the information that we have disseminated has come out of this letter. The plan that doesn't exist is specified in here. The number of dedicated 300 dedicated single-family lots, 75 detached single-family lots for 55 and older, 162 high-end rental townhomes. So the idea that this doesn't exist is just not true. Here's the plan. So rezoning has come up over and over again. Lots of comments again on this whole process. I just want to reiterate what other people have said. While this plan may not legally rezone anything, it is a statement of intent to rezone and a statement of what that rezoning should be. The now infamous TNN designation is a great example. For those of you who did not see the post of Elizabeth Bowling is the Assistant Commissioner of Commerce and Insurance. What she said was, there are several Attorney General opinions that say future land use decisions must be consistent with the growth plan. It goes on and on, but what that means is approval of this plan is de facto rezoning. Y'all can argue about it all you want, but that's what the law says. So Jennifer Moody told me that at one of the last meetings that once this plan was adopted, implementation would begin immediately. Her term, immediately. I'm not sure what that means, but I think it's becoming clear to all of us. Alderman Berry has repeatedly called this plan a vision board. So what is it? You can't implement a vision board. This morning, a neighbor of mine put one of the Safe Tellahoma signs in her yard. Within 1 hour, one of the aldermen was knocking on her door. She felt targeted and she felt like she was being intimidated. Well, it didn't work. So my question is, why are we out expending all of this energy going out to people at their homes instead of having a meeting like this where everyone gets to express their own thoughts and ideas? I think the BOMA is going to pass this plan no matter what. Since there has been such an unprecedented outcry from current citizens, I think you're going to play a game. You're going to let the aldermen up for re-election vote against adoption of the plan in an effort to save face and hopefully save their seats. Then you're going to place Alderman Amacher, the only alderman who truly wants to know exactly what implementation of this plan means, in an untenable position. She's going to have to vote yes in order to be able to keep her right to bring this back to agenda at a later time, or she's going to have to vote no and be silenced forever. This is a statement from Deborah Fisher, the president of the Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. I doubt anyone keeps a list of all the unjust or ultimately wrong decisions in developing our communities. I'd like to think we get it right more times than we get it wrong. But getting it right means access to information, both by citizens and by our representatives in government. When governments withhold information about economic development deals until after agreements have been made, and even in some cases signed, this hides crucial information until it's too late for citizens to weigh in. That's exactly why we're here tonight. It's painfully obvious to me that the city has made promises and probably signed agreements with outside investors, agreements that the taxpayers of Tullahoma will be obligated to fulfill. I am an Army brat and a Mississippi boy. I understand and embrace the genteel attitudes of the South. It is unfortunate that that makes the citizens of Tellahoma so immediately and completely shy away from any political controversy. These investors and even your own elected representatives are using this against you. Unless you are willing to stand up and fight, your way of life will be gone forever. In 2 years, Tellahoma will be Murfreesboro. Thank you.
Is Alderman Berry going to have an opportunity to, because I think when somebody calls them is that correct?
Yes, your name is called, and you have the opportunity to respond.
Next.
Bobby Wilson, Arbor Marble. Mike Chansey, Hermitage.
Cheney.
Good evening.
Cheney, you recognized?
My name's Dr. Mike Cheney. I live at 150 Hermitage Drive. It's out in Hermitage Estates, out near West Middle School. So a lot of points made about not suggesting not to follow through with this plan, not to approve it. I have to follow that line of thinking at this time. I've got a slightly different view on my reasoning, but at this point, I cannot recommend that the board approve this plan. And my main point, several people have spoken about the suburban neighborhood low with the TNN optional. TNN being the traditional neighborhood new. In the plan, as it's laid out, including the timeline laid out for proposed rezoning activities that start out in year one after the plan is approved. So there are things in the plan that just aren't clear. There are a number of subdivisions in the Tullahoma area that are fully fleshed out. All the lots are full of homes at this time that are in the zoned area, or the planned areas called suburban neighborhood low TNN optional. And the TNN optional, of course, is a pretty high density region, and there's total unclarity about what that means when an existing subdivision or neighborhood is defined as having a TNN optional. I don't know what that means. I have no clue what that means. I found no information in the document that describes what might happen to an existing neighborhood that has this option. Does that, reading the words, it seems to imply to me that they can come in and place more homes in the existing property. And to me, that's untenable, and it's an area that's just not clear in the plan. And as I have read the plan, it appears that there will be soon follow-up for rezoning activities, and that's one major area where I just don't think you can approve this plan as it stands today.
Thank you, Mr. Channing.
Thank you.
Next would be Early McKnight, 12 Oaks Road.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My wife and I moved to Tellahoma in 1999. Many of you might say we haven't been here very long, but we love it here and we want to stay here until the end. Looking around the room, I can honestly say that I've met nearly everyone in the room. and I think you're my friends and neighbors. This is a great place to live. I think most of the people in the room would say they love it here and they want to stay here a really long time. And they love it here because of the type of community that we have, and we'd like to continue that. I fully support growth, and I fully support more homes and more jobs. But I don't fully understand this plan. Now, maybe that's on me. I've taken the Tullahoma newspaper since I moved to Tullahoma. I have the Telehoma News app on my phone, which I read quite frequently. But I tell you, until a week ago, I was not aware. Maybe that's on me. But I'll tell you that I think that we should have more time to better understand this plan, and I request that you delay the vote at least until the next meeting for us to better understand it. Thank you.
Thank you. Your comments are appreciated. Next.
Clint Wolf on 12 Oaks Road.
Mr. Wolf, you're recognized.
Clint Wolf, 811 12 Oaks Road. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I moved here a year ago. I escaped Franklin. It took me 2 years to find this town. And I'm a single dad. I've got a 13-year-old boy at East, and we are so happy that we found Tellahoma. This is an amazing, unique community. My family is in real estate, believe it or not. My dad made a fortune in New Jersey in real estate. I've been around real estate since I was a kid, spent summers fixing up apartment buildings, and I know a lot about real estate, and I can tell you that the old adage, location, 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 it doesn't actually matter anymore, because you know what the new adage is? Density, density, density. It's about money and profits. Very simply. This agenda, this plan, with these embedded cities within cities, that's what a PUD is, by the way, a planned unit development. It's a city within a city, okay? What are they for? Well, they're not for us. They're for the investors. They're for the outside money and the developers who come here and make millions of dollars and then leave. And it's sad. It's sad to me, because the way things are here is wonderful. Sure, there's problems, and there's nothing wrong with growth, but this is overgrowth. This is an agenda for overgrowth. And I'm so happy to see all of you out here. As a newcomer, I've met so many people in the last 3 weeks. It's remarkable. So what I want to share with you, first of all, I'd like to request that the plan be tabled for now. Think carefully, even in its most mild iteration, what this city within a city would do over there in Anderson Farm. Beautiful. I live right near there. It's beautiful. It's an agricultural, wonderland. At least 600 high-density homes, but once the PUD is approved, who knows? Rules change, Particularly with PUDs, they have no zoning. They have their own definition of how that portion of land is to be developed. Think very carefully about 600 homes, maybe that's 1,200 cars a day moving through roads designed for a fraction of that. The impact is going to be terrible, and every place there's one of these PUDs, you're going to see the same effect. Traffic, crowded schools, taxes, potentially crime. Stop it. It's time to take a breath, put this table this plan, and have a very clear discussion of what the future of this wonderful town should look like. Thank you so much.
Greg Gressel Oak
Gresham,
Park
you're
Drive.
recognized.
Come from a little different point of view tonight, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you. I would love to be in support of this because I do believe that growth is going to happen in Tellahoma, and are we ready for it is the big question. And I do think we have some things to do to get ready for it. I do not think that this plan in its entirety is that. I don't think that it's there. And, as the chair of your Arts Council and the executive director and chair of the largest arts organization in the city, there was no representation of how this was going to affect the arts from the arts community. And I find that to be troubling because we use the arts community a lot in our advertising, and this is supposed to be a big pull for us in tourism. And we use that, but we didn't ask any input. And we are quality of life. What we do adds to the quality of life. So when Vanderbilt or any of your major companies are trying to pull people in, they're trying to sell them on the idea of Tellahoma. And when you're doing that, you're trying to sell them on quality of life. And we were not a part of the discussion. We were not brought to the table. We were not one of the consultants or one of the people giving to that effort. And so for that reason, I can't support it as written, and I would love to see it postponed or not adopted tonight and some more conversation had about it so that we could be a little more clear on how things are moving and going. And so I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Gresham.
Next up, Greg Sandlin, Arbor Marble Drive.
Greg Sandlin, 106 Albemarle Drive. Thank you, Mayor and Board. My wife and I have lived here 21 years. A good job at AEDC drew us here, like many in this room probably. We raised our daughters here, and we love this town, and we plan to be here for a long time. I also serve as chairman of the Planning Commission, and I attended most of the 8 or so public meetings to develop this 2040 plan. It was an entirely transparent process, significant public input that's been communicated. And bottom line is, why do we need a plan? Growth is happening. Growth is going to happen. We need a plan to manage that growth, so it's slow and steady. It's the growth that we want it to be. Is this plan perfect? No, this plan's not perfect. Now the rubber's meeting the road with some of the neighbors. We really need to work through that. So I do want to say, as chairman of the Planning Commission, I encourage support of this plan. A lot of serious hours went into reviewing it. And that's certainly what I encourage you to do. But if you postpone it, the Planning Commission, as one step in that process, just stands ready for that dialogue, that community dialogue with neighbors, with friends, with coworkers, to hash out the plan that's best for most of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandlin.
Next on the list would be Ray
Sear.
Sear, C-U-R?
C-Y-R.
C-Y-R, thank you, over in Terra Boulevard.
Sear, you recognized.
Thank you, Mayor and Board of Aldermen and citizens of Tellahoma. Speaking to you as well. I live at 400 Terra Boulevard, and I'm not going to spend the time kind of reiterating basically the things that Clint spoke about in terms of how that's going to impact our neighborhood because of the 2040 plan and the zoning change and the verbiage that's there. So I'm not going to really use my time for that. What I'd like to do instead is kind of paint a picture of what this looks like. I lived in a small town that was designed to be a retirement community in Florida. That town grew, tripled in growth. The main road expanded from a 2-lane to a 4-lane. The people on that road, okay, granted they're living on a main road,
there's that risk that it could expand and they could potentially, have to widen the roads. That widened road expanded out enough so that there was practically cars driving through these people's living rooms, and they could not sell their homes. There were for sale signs everywhere. So now let's bring this a little bit closer to our side of the town, okay? You've got Country Club Boulevard, you've got Kings Lane, and then now you've got Terra Boulevard. All three of those are going to have to expand in some capacity in order to handle all the traffic. You got 535 units that are planning to go back there. Do the math. Who owns one car these days? They're talking about 1,000 cars that are going to impact that side of town. So guess what? That leaves myself and all of the residents on over there in Terra Estates, Country Club Boulevard, and even Kings Lane. That leaves us holding the bag someday when we want to sell our house. Who's going to come and want to live in that area because the infrastructure is not there to support it? So what are we going to do? We're going to force it on the people that live there? Why should someone who's an out-of-state developer come in here, buy that property, doesn't give a darn about us, okay, is going to profit millions, and then is going to do it on the backs of our neighborhood? That is not fair. At some point, I may not sell my house now or in the next 5 years, but at some point, my house is going to be sold, whether it's for my kids, for the estate or whatever. Who's going to recoup that? Who's going to recoup that loss? The guy who bought the property, he could care less. The developers, they're all living their happy lives. But my family's property and all of the other ones in Terra that will be affected, Country Club Boulevard and Kings Lane and any of the other surrounding areas, they're the ones that are going to suffer the loss. That's number one. Number two, you got schools that are going to need to be, they're going to have to grow. Okay, I understand that over time we're going to have to grow. Schools will have to increase. Do you have any idea how much it's going to cost to build one elementary school or one high school or one middle school? Back in 1988, that small town high school cost $21 million to build. Can you just do the math? How much is that going to cost in today's dollars? Okay, where's that going to come from? Oh, we're going to just, naturally, we're going to increase the taxes on everybody. Okay, all of that aside, is it necessary for this small town to have to be a big town? There are thousands of little towns across the United States. Why do we have to be in Murfreesboro or some of the other surrounding cities that were named? Let's grow slowly in the way that we need to, but not on the backs. It's not fair for us over there in Terra to have to absorb all of that and say, here's an existing neighborhood. Oh, and now instead of, we're just going to connect that in the back of your neighborhood. And as I understand it, you have to have two entrances. So guess what? That means one on Grundy and one that's coming right down Terra Boulevard where I live. So now my road becomes a main road. I didn't buy into Terra Estates with the idea that I was living on a main road. If I wanted to live on a main road, I would have lived on a main road and took that risk. That's not what I did. We're in that community, we rented a home, and we was like, this is a great neighborhood. And so we're like, that'd be great if we can just be able to stay in here after we're done renting. And we were blessed enough to find a place to do that. So now we continue to, enjoy walking around in the neighborhood, see deer running around and that sort of thing. As Clint pointed out, there's wildlife back there, okay? That's all gone. You see the sidewalks that everyone enjoys out on Country Club and walks back and forth from all the subdivisions, that's gone. The roads get widened and the sidewalks are gone and all of that. So the quality of life decreases. So I'm asking that this whole thing just be reevaluated for the quality of life of not only the people in Terra Estates, but the surrounding areas as well. It's not fair that somebody should come in and do that on the backs of that community.
Mr. Sarah, your time
This is Tellahoma. It's a small town. There's no reason why it has to expand to 58,000. There are plenty of small towns in the United States, and there's no reason why that this one can't remain at some level.
Next up to speak, it looks like a Stephen M. or something, 170, who signed in after. All right. Lloyd Lloyd would be the next one.
I don't know what the Stephen.
Lloyd, Boren, Lloyd.
Me. Lloyd Bourne, 103 Gardenia Circle, Terra
Born to
Estates.
recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board. I've emailed each of you about my concerns about rapid growth and overexpansion in relation to Clarksville, which is where I'm from. I lived through all of that. It was, at times, a nightmare. I didn't live in North Clarksville. I lived in the nice part of Clarksville, Sango. That's starting to explode, as is West Clarksville, out Highway 79 toward Dover. I really don't have any prepared speech or anything, but one thing I will say is ditto to what everybody else has said. It's very important. It appears that your plan, which is a good start, really needs some serious revisions, perhaps even 2 revisions, that you may think is perfect, but I would say no. And I'd say that a majority of people here in this room feel that it needs some more input, some more consideration, and at least 1 or 2 more revisions. So I understand you're from Florida?
Yes, sir.
Tampa?
Yes, sir.
Pretty big city?
Yes, sir.
Lot of growth?
Yes, sir.
Do you want that here?
No.
Okay.
Then you're familiar with the small town.
Absolutely not, absolutely not.
You've had your time, don't cut into mine, don't cut into mine.
Please address your comments to the board, please.
Yeah, I ask that you postpone the vote on this plan. I ask that you reopen the plan for more consideration, more input, because it looks like you need a lot more input. I'm of the opinion that there must be more and more restrictions on what's allowed and where they're allowed. It appears this rezoning proposal in this plan is a smokescreen for something that we don't know. Don't make that clear. It looks like there's too many ifs and whats and things that hide mischievous doings. And I say that from practical experience in Clarksville. Back in the 90s, 80s and 90s, we had a mayor that was a developer. Guess what happened? Major expansion of housing. Of course, that coincided with Fort Campbell changing. It also coincided with the interstate coming through by Clarksville. A lot more growth there. Not going to say that's going to happen in Tellahoma, but you do have 41, which is now 4 lanes to Shelbyville. It's a corridor for more people coming down. There's not going to be a traffic jam out here tomorrow of people coming in here looking for houses, but in the next 2 years, you're going to see a lot more interest. In the next 5 years, you're going to see a major push. Please postpone the plan. Please reopen it for more discussion. You've got a lot of people here with opinions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bourne.
Next up is Laura Fisher, Country Club Drive.
Ms. Fisher, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Board. I'm not a public speaker. When I signed in, I thought I was signing into the meeting, but I don't want to let the time be wasted. I do want to voice my opinion. So, to my knowledge, and I'm not here to belabor this point, but to my knowledge, we never received a survey, so we did not participate in a survey. There are multiple reasons that could have happened or that we might not have received one. As a transplant from another small town to this small town, I've been here 13 years. Really enjoy small town living. Tellahoma is beautiful. I'm blessed enough to live in a beautiful neighborhood, and I want to keep it beautiful and quiet. I'm not interested in having a red light that I've heard in my front yard. I know my neighbors on both sides and several depths are not interested in that. And that may or may not be true, but I have heard that about the proposed plan and future growth if a subdivision were to come in and connect to the backside of Terra. Definitely not interested in a high-density development. Concur with all those before that I oppose the plan as written. What else can I say? I would like for y'all to postpone the vote. And really, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
Derek Fisher, Country Club Drive.
I signed in for the meeting as well. But my neighbor next door, we live on Country Club Drive, and he walked over about 10 days ago and said, hey, what are we going to do about the stoplight in our yard? We live at the head end where Terra runs onto Country Club Drive. And then we started learning more and more about what was going on and talking about the high-density housing and what that's going to bring. I'm an environmental safety and health regional director, and I look at it from a security standpoint and a safety. This isn't going to enhance safety and security for the community of Tullahoma. And you look around to all these people, how many of y'all raise your hand if you think this is introducing a cancer into our town?
Is it cancer?
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
C. Ingalls, Arbor Marble.
Oh,
Mr. Ingalls, you recognized?
C and then a D, Ingalls. Eagles, ILGES. Okay. Patricia Reed, Forest Drive.
Ms. Reed, you're recognized.
Hunter Norris.
Dr. Norris, you're recognized.
I'm Hunter Norris. I live at 433 Albemarle Drive here in Tellahoma in Macon Manor. And isn't this great to have all this citizen input? When was the last time we had people in the lobby waiting to get in here, standing room only? Does anybody know when the last time was?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is a historic time for Tullahoma. Isn't this exciting? With all this involvement, come on. So I'm going to give you the emotional side of it because that's the way I've lived my life is with emotion. I have lived my life to acclaim Tellahoma, to make it better, and it's made me better as a person. And whether I'm going to Akron, where we won a world championship, I go up there, they know Tellahoma. They know the name Tellahoma. And that's what I love about Tellahoma. It's unique. We don't want to be like everybody else. I would just catch my breath here. There's a reason Tullahoma hasn't grown. I've been here for 2 generations. Do you know the reason why Tullahoma hasn't grown? On the south, we've got Winchester, the Franklin County. We got Moore County on the west side, Shelbyville, Bedford County on the other side, on the north side. And we have a lake that's blocking us too. So how are we going to grow? Are we going to force these small, high density developments into these small areas? Because I live next to Anderson Farms. I'd love to have it built like the other homes in Terra or Tellahoma. I don't want apartments behind my house. I don't want a convenience store behind my house. When we have a house, what do you want in your house? You want it to be calm? You want to rest there? Do you think something like that's going where people will be resting? I know we need apartments, but find some other place to put them, okay?
Next up, Ken Campbell, Ashley Drive.
Mr. Campbell, you're recognized.
Linda Campbell, Ashley Drive.
Next.
That's it?
That's all.
That's all that's signed in.
That's all that's signed in. And in case we miss someone, I'll recognize anyone else that would care to speak.
At least I mispronounced.
With that, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you for your being here tonight. With the close of the public hearing, we'll call the regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to order. And I'll ask the city recorder to call the roll.
Mayor Noes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Blanks.
Here.
Alderperson Almacher.
Here.
Barry.
Here.
Blackwell.
Here.
Dunn. McGee.
Here.
That's 7 present.
Well, now, at this time, I'd like to recognize Reverend Ricky Wade, if Reverend Wade is still in the audience. Reverend Wade, thank you for waiting, and would you please come in, offer the invocation, and lead us in the pledge to the flag. Reverend Wade.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send forth upon the leaders of our community a spirit of wisdom, of charity, and justice, that with steadfast devotion they would seek to fulfill the roles of their office and to promote the well-being of all people. This we lift up in the name of our Lord. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Wade. This time we have a couple of special presentations. First, I'd like to recognize the Director of the Tullahoma Area Chamber of Commerce, Hope Nunley.
Hello, good evening. So I'm here for my quarterly report. Just like to attend and remind all of you about all the great things happening at the Chamber. And so it has been a busy beginning of the year. We had a really successful celebration, and I know many of you attended, so thank you so much for taking the time to do that. We also welcomed a new staff member at TACC, Lily Thompson. She is our Marketing and Communications Coordinator. We're thrilled to welcome Lily. So far this year, we have welcomed 43 new members, and we are now offering Member Plus ribbon cuttings with confetti cannons. So ribbon cuttings are already really exciting, but the confetti cannons really add that extra pop to them. So I want to invite all of you to please take a few moments to attend these ribbon cuttings. Most of these businesses, it is one of the most exciting days for them, and they never forget the people that showed up for them. And so I just ask that you do take some time, attend these. We have one next Monday, August 1st, 10 a.m. at Highway 55 Burgers and Fries. So it's going to be confetti and hamburgers. So please make note. We also graduated our first Coffee County Leadership Group with the Manchester Area Chamber of Commerce. It was 19 amazing people, and we actually have applications open through August 15th. And so I invite you, if you have not been through the program, to please fill out the application, and that goes to anyone who's interested. We do have our chamber coffee coming up tomorrow at Resource MFG at 11 a.m. And we do take the time to recognize our elected officials that join us at these coffees. And so we do greatly appreciate when you show up and help to welcome these new members and our first-time visitors. We have our CEO kickoff on Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. at East Lincoln. And again, I'm going to invite all of you to join us. And as we kick off the school year, Dr. Stevens already gave a really exciting update as to what's going on with the school system. So we're excited to partner with them. And then we have our Taste of Tellahoma Business Expo coming up on September 8th, and invite you to all join us for that. Does anyone have questions?
And the location for the...
Oh, it's at the Armory. Thank you.
At the Armory.
It coincides with the Great American Defense Community Visit.
And the CEO kickoff time? Sorry, I missed.
7:30 a.m. And there will be breakfast.
On Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay.
The 28th, 7:30 East Lincoln. Chick-fil-A is providing breakfast.
Thank you, Ms. Nunley, for your report.
I would appreciate a round of applause.
Next, I'd like to get we have a special report from an Assistant City Administrator, Mr. Jordan Wilkins. He'll be talking about our Telehoma Citizens Academy. Mr. Wilkins.
Hello, everyone. I want to introduce tonight to everyone the City of Tellahoma Citizens Academy. This is the first time that the City of Tellahoma has done this, so glad we have a good turnout of people here to hopefully participate in this. So the purpose of this, the Tellahoma Citizens Academy, provides an opportunity for citizens to learn firsthand about department operations through a series of lectures, field trips, simulated activities, and citizens will get trained from as an actual city employee would. The TCA is beneficial to the community and the department because it builds relationships with community groups and citizens to learn the responsibilities of the city. What is the format for the Citizens Academy? It will run for 5 weeks and it will be held in September on Thursday nights from 6 to 8 p.m. and it will be led by city personnel. Unless otherwise specified, those will be held on the schedule at our city facilities. Some of the things that you will learn if you participate in the program will be an overview of city department operations and organizations, site visits to our city facilities, firsthand experiences with city officials, and a review of city services. You must be at least 18 years of age or older to participate, and you must either be a citizen of Tellahoma or work in the city of Tellahoma. This is posted on our website, or you can email me at jwilkins@tellahomatn.gov. We are coordinating this program through the city administrator's office, or you can call City Hall at 931-455-2648, and we look forward to sharing this program with the citizens and people who work here in the city to learn more about what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Sounds like a fun program. This time we'll go with the approval of the agenda. This agenda has been distributed earlier. Are there any objections to the agenda as it was presented? Alderman Berry.
Mayor, I'd like to remove item 2014, item number 22-113. That's the designating, I would like to remove it for now and postpone it to later. Designating that old 411 East Carroll Street, Rock 10 building, the gentleman who spoke earlier. Give him some time to talk with the city administrator, and I spoke with him today.
Okay.
And he'd like I think there's some details that need to be talked about there.
Okay, what is that ordinance number?
Item number 22-113.
I'll second.
Do we need to, yeah.
Did you say what date?
Just until he and the city administrator have a chance to speak.
Okay, we've got a motion? Alderman Hamaker.
Yes, I second. I have another item. This one.
Got a motion and a second to delete item 22-113. All in favor, vote green, vote red for no. Okay, with that change, that approves 7-0. So we changed that agenda there. And I will also ask to make an adjustment to the, yes, Alderman Hamaker.
I would like to make a motion to remove an item from the agenda.
Item number?
Item number 22-114, the adoption of the 2022 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Department Master Plan. I would like to postpone that until a future date after we have had the opportunity to have a study session with the Walker Collaborative Group to discuss the citizens' concerns.
Okay, you're to remove the Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Plan.
Which is
I'm
separate
sorry.
from the other
That's
one.
completely different.
Yeah.
Is that part of the master plan?
No.
Okay.
Which item are you asking to remove?
Is that on? Why am I thinking that that's what this is?
I don't know. You're thinking of number 10.
Number 10, I'm sorry, yes. Number 10, excuse me. An ordinance number 1582, an ordinance to adopt the Think Tellahoma 2040 Comprehensive Plan.
Okay, you're making a motion to remove that. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
It was Robin.
You have a
that said
second?
Was that the motion to remove it and send to
Yes,
study
it's the
session?
It's the motion to remove that ordinance number 1582 for the 2040 comprehensive plan, excuse me.
Until a study session?
Until a study session could be
I would like to
had
discuss.
with the Walker Collaborative Group.
Oh,
Did you get a second? You got a second? Did you second that?
I'm sorry, I just, I don't know that we need the Walker Collaborative Group with us. Sorry, I thought it was just a study session with our staff.
Do we have a
Well,
second?
may I revise my motion?
Yes.
I believe that it would be beneficial for them to be there, but I don't know that it's a necessity. I think that we ought to offer the opportunity, but yes, I would like to have a study session with our board in order to address this.
And possibly the planning commission too?
Yeah, I think that the more people we can invite, the better.
Could you make the motion to include the Walker Group if possible?
To include the Walker Group if possible as part of my motion.
I will second that.
Can I make a comment before we get too deep into
Yes.
this?
We have a motion and we have a second. The item's open for discussion.
No.
So
Alderman Berry.
I agree with when we get to the item, talk about postponing it, because I think that that's what we want to do, but I still would like to get to that item in our agenda so that we can, I have some comments that I'd like to make about that item, and I'd like to get to that point first in the agenda.
Can that?
We have a
before
motion
just-
to delete that at this point. We have a motion and a
Before removing
second.
it now. We
Can I
can
ask
remove
a
it later.
question?
Yes, that's Alderman McGee.
Isn't it open for discussion now, though?
Yes, it's
Can
open for
we-
discussion about deleting the
Oh, not
item.
deleting
We
it, okay.
can't talk about it.
Gotcha.
We have a motion and a second
And
to
a group of-
delete.
And a group of discussion.
It's on for delete.
Yes, I would like, regarding the motion for deletion, I would like to see it, I would like to amend that motion to include that the chair of the planning commission would be there to be able to describe, so the red lines to us.
Is that acceptable
Yes,
for your
I-
motion?
That is acceptable.
I have questions on that.
As well.
Okay, the motion is to delete this for a study session, which we would have the Walker Collaborative if possible, and to have the chairman of the planning commission as well.
I have a comment to
So
make
we don't get to
for
this.
discussion.
The issues for
The reason that I'm doing this is that the majority of the people standing in this room are here for this one item, and I know that they would like to have what's left of their Monday night. We are in no way, shape, or form ready to deliberate, and I believe that in the future, after we have more information, any comments will be pertinent then and not now.
Okay. Yes, Dr. Blanks.
If we table this, we worked a year and a half on this. And granted, some of y'all in the audience tonight said you were not made aware of it, but we have published this and I don't know how we could have got it out to you any greater. So, we've done a lot of homework on this, and this board right here is responsible for this. If we delay it, you could have four new people up here, and that may be what you want, which is fine, but, this is our baby. If we can bring it to a vote, it either fails or it doesn't. I'm not, this,
Alderman, you're recognized.
I'm speaking to my colleagues.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
And I'm just saying that, the ones that.
It's not about doing something, it's about doing the right thing. We're not here just to check a box. We're here to make sure we
Mayor?
make the right decision.
Mayor,
and the
that
smart
gavel.
decision. It's not about
Gavel,
it
please.
just
Bang the gavel, Mayor.
Okay, the board is in session, and you're here to hear what the board is deliberating on tonight. You have had an opportunity to make your
By
points.
the people and for the people, not by the government and for the government.
Can I finish?
You're recognized, Dr. Blanks.
Thank you.
The deliberative process within our board, that we've had things like this before that have come up. We had the sewer, the
Water treatment.
the water treatment plant, and But we were allowed as a deliberative body here, the elected officials, to have discussion, and we had input before we had the discussion. What I'm saying, if we do not bring this forward, then we can't deliberate any of it. So I'm just saying that's my comment, that, you know, we could, there are people that are on this board that were members of the Planning Commission that can give us better insight of what you know, what is going on. The other thing I would say here, and to defend some of my colleagues on this board, there were accusations that there were outside people funding this change. I take offense to that. If you have proof,
Use the word funding.
however you want to do that. So that's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Berry, you're next.
We are here tonight to hold a public meeting. That's why this process is here tonight, so that we can hear what they have to say. And then it's on our agenda to then have a discussion over what we heard tonight. Now, after we've had time to sit down and digest some of this and all kind of give, then if we want to postpone, postpone. If we want to vote no, vote no. But what I'm saying, and if the consideration is time, then rather than deleting it, we can choose to move it up in the agenda and discuss that item first so that they can go home if they want to go home. But the reason we are here tonight is so that we could hear. That's why we have public hearings, so that we can get this feedback and so that we can deliberate after that. And then after we've deliberated, decide what we want to do.
And the motion that we have is to delete this item from the agenda tonight and until we can hold a public hearing with collaborative. Study session with Walker Collaborative if possible, and with Planning Commission in attendance. That is
Mayor,
what the commission is.
with regard to, Mayor, with regard to.
Let me I'll come back. Alderman Almager.
I don't believe Robin's had a chance to speak on this, so I will go after.
You're correct. Thank you.
I just, in regard to Alderman Berry's statement, I would hate to not have him be able to speak, so I'd like to remove my second, please, from that motion.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to implore this board further to consider a second here, and here is the reasoning why. To vote on this issue or to discuss it any further after everything that we've heard, after going back to the drawing board with Walker Collaborative, the Planning Commission, and amongst ourselves, would be a slap in the face to the people that have shown up here tonight. And I cannot in good conscience move forward, including any discussion, until we take a step back and listen and look at some of the things that these individuals have brought to our attention. And with that said, I would implore you to consider putting this vote off, because there is no reason to be in a hurry.
Again, the motion is to delete this from the agenda tonight until we can get this before a study session with Walker Collaborative if possible, and with Planning Commission present. That's the motion that we have. Now that motion is open for a second. Alderman McGee.
I'll second.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion on the removal of this item from the agenda tonight?
Just for clarification, the reason why I removed my second was, my hope is that whatever discussion comes up tonight will help us to better understand what our study session is going to look like, and how we can best move forward. I mean, we're all sitting here anyway, is kind of what I was thinking.
Okay, Alderman Blackwell.
I am hearing what Alderman Dunn's saying. I think some of the language that was just used is strong. I had planned on asking for a postponement during the discussion, and had hoped that discussion would be here so to offer clarity so that people could see that we as a board
Listen.
or listening to you. That's why I wanted to move forward with some discussion. I had always planned on putting for a postponement for it. If Alderman Almacher, this passes, then that's fine. But I would encourage also Alderman Berry then in his board report during the Planning Commission part to report on the Planning Commission.
At this point, we still have a motion on the table with a second to remove this item from the agenda tonight. Alderman McGee.
I do think that we need to discuss it. Like Robin said, we're all here, the citizens are here. We do want them to know that we hear them.
It's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
The city administrator isn't.
To delete.
It's our discussion, not hers.
I think someone said, you know, we need to do what's right. So I want to withdraw my second so we can discuss, so that the citizens know that we hear them.
Okay, we have a motion to delete. Okay, we have no second. Yes,
If
Alderman
we don't
Black.
have a second, I'd like to move it up, though, to the very front of the agenda, so people can hear the discussion, so we can say, hey, we heard you, hey, we're worried about the deer, to the top of the agenda, right after, even before consent, if we can.
That's really condescending, we're worried about it here.
Well, I am.
No, that's condescending.
But we want to tell you that we're hearing
We have 500
you.
names on a petition here in 6 days.
But
There
we-
be discussion, it's very clear our position and the position of
We've
this
heard the
town.
discussion we need to hear. It's from these people in this audience.
Very
I didn't mean that to be condescending, I apologize if it was, but I really actually do care about the deer, because I've been in your neighborhood for a long time and love them.
First off, we have to deal with the motion that we have,
It died.
and do we have a second?
We have no second.
That motion to delete that item dies for a second. We're still on establishing the agenda tonight. Does anyone wish to change the agenda further? Alderman Berry.
I motion to move item number 10 to top of new business above number 8.
Okay. Needs a second.
Second.
Got a second. Any discussion on moving that agenda item? If not, vote green for yes for moving it, red for no. And that motion is to move that agenda item to the top of the page. Okay, with that agenda change, I have one request for an agenda change, and that is to actually adjourn the board until we have a beer board meeting, which will take maybe a minute or two. But we have a person who has an item on the agenda for the beer board for a new beer license. And at this time, I'll close the board meeting and I'll open the beer board meeting. At that time, are there any public comments that anyone would care to make regarding the beer board meeting tonight? Hearing none, we'll move to the consent agenda. Item number 22, BB 117, the minutes of the July 22nd beer board meeting. That's the consent agenda. Alderman Blackwell.
Move to approve.
Got a motion to approve it, seconded by Barry. All in favor, vote green for yes and red for no. That motion passes 7-0. There's no other unfinished business under new business. A request to approve an off-premises beer permit for Mr. Patel regarding the gas station in the market located at 325 East Carroll Street, subject to the final fire inspection. Mr. Patel in the audience. Mr. Patel, would you please come forward and tell us your plans for the new station?
It's existing store, we're just taking over.
Okay.
And we apply for beer permit.
Have you sold beer previously?
Yeah, it's already there.
And you're familiar with all the Tellahoma beer requirements?
I am familiar.
You have a plan in place to ensure that you do not sell to minors?
Yeah, definitely.
You've done that before and you're comfortable with being able to operate within those laws?
Yeah, we have POS system that's not allowed without scanning ID, so.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, vote green for yes and red for no. And you have a new beer license.
Thank you so much.
Subject to fire inspection. Thank you. With that, there being no other new Beer Board business, we'll close the Beer Board. We'll go back to our regular agenda for tonight. With that, we have a report from, are there any other citizens who would care to address the board on anything other than what's been in the public hearing tonight? If not, we'll move to reports from.
I think you had a hand, Mr. Mayor.
No, I already gave my time to someone else.
This is new stuff.
This is new thing, anything other than what's been reported already?
Well, they can speak to anything.
Very good, thank you. First, we'll hear from there's no comments from the citizens, we'll hear reports from our aldermen. So we'll start with Alderman Blackwell.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you guys know we're having a meeting with the downtown people. Anyone who's on that listserv, trying to make sure everybody he's not here anymore, Greg got on that listserv. But on Thursday, 5:30 p.m. here in the boardroom, we'll be meeting to discuss Halloween and possibly what we're looking at doing with the George Orr tree lighting, and to answer any questions or concerns. Also, convocation was this morning. As a liaison to the school board, I wanted to share with you how fantastic it was. So it was the first day that all of our teachers were back in one location. And, you know, it was, they had a fantastic speaker. Her name was Kim Bearden, and she spoke very eloquently about something that I really want to share with you guys because it's important. Once I find the darn thing, here it is. She talked about the six principles of effective communication. And I think this is really important for our board tonight. The first one, she gave us them consideration was the first one. That means there's always more to the story, and to listen to people, to try to hear from them, so that we're able to come to somewhere where we can all receive what we're all saying. The second thing was motivation, that when we listen to people and when we're having conversations, to have the right motivation, be not about us, but to know what our motivations are while we're talking to them and have positive motivators. Another one was appreciation, being appreciative of all of the people who wanted to speak to her and to tell her, the students, the teachers, validating them and hearing them and listening to them, having conversation back and forth with them, and then celebrating the fact that we were able to come in together and do that. And she spoke about this to our teachers because we know that they are the front lines. They hear so much difficulties. They get a million positives from their kids, but sometimes a lot of negatives too. And so she was encouraging them, and I thought that it was just fitting for this board meeting tonight for us to realize that as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Michael. Alderman Dunn.
Yes, sir. I was going to tell everybody to go to the farmer's market tonight, but it's already over. But it would have been very nice. So I encourage you to go. It is every Monday night. It's 3:30 to 7 o'clock at South Jackson Civic Center. It's a great way to support small business. We had compost bins from the Interlocal Solid Waste Authority, and Mr. Jim Wood played his fiddle today. So also next Monday, I'll be hosting the Go Green meeting here at 5 o'clock in this very room, so you feel free to come to that. And it sounds like tomorrow night I'll be at the Tullahoma High School lecture hall to visit with some of the folks who are here tonight to better understand what their concerns are.
Thank you, Alderman Dunn. Alderman Amar.
Yes, sir. Tourism Council, hopefully we're going to get that up and running in the near future. I had a conversation last week with Winston about the loss of Steve May and his retirement, and how we haven't really been able to revamp or get a replacement from somebody from Jack Daniels in order to revamp our efforts towards tourism. But as many of us in this room did today, we attended a Tennessee tourism meeting with the over the economic impact of tourism in Coffee County, presented by the Commissioner of Tourist Development, Mark Ezel. And that was one of the recommendations that was made during that meeting, is to try to have a collaborative summit with Manchester City, the county, and the city of Tellahoma, and all of the key players that in your industries that also benefit tourism, for us to try to have a meeting here in the near future, especially looking at some of those ARP dollars that will be coming down specifically for tourism, and how we can grab some of those for our community. Also, I would like to do my small business shout out for DC Power Sports. They are at 500 East Carroll Street in Telehoma. They have Parts, accessories, and repair for all major brands, side-by-sides, and ATVs, which is a big part of our tourism down here in southern Middle Tennessee. We are also now offering parts and accessories and service on golf carts. So for those of you here that live in Macon Manor and over by the golf course, they can service your golf carts. Combined, the staff at DC has over 45 years of service experience in the power sports maintenance and repair industry. Had several complaints about Splash Island being closed. Understand that we have some issues that we've been dealing with as far as in our Parks and Rec department, and hopefully we can get some more clarification and answers, and did want the citizens to know that I am personally looking into that, and hopefully we can discuss that more in the future. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Alderman. Thank you. Mr. Dunn, Mr. Barry.
We'll get there. Mr. Mayor, thank you. I had the Planning Commission meeting. That was last week. We'll dive into some of those details a little bit later. I also attended the seminar Q&A with the Commissioner Ezell and Ashley. It's always great to see them. They're a great group. I get to work with them frequently, and they had a lot of exciting things to say. And there's a lot of neat stuff coming down the pipeline, and I am looking forward to a lot of opportunities for I think our chamber people left. But that is it. I will shut up so we can get to the meat of the night.
Alderman McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did not make it to the Industrial Board of Coffee County meeting. I did not get to make it to the Tellahoma Housing Authority, but I did get a report, and they were approved for another round of COVID rent relief funds, so that will help the tenants be able to stay there. And they also do have some openings. So the next meeting for the Industrial Board of Coffee County will be August the 17th, and the next meeting for Tullahoma Housing Authority will be August 18th, and that's all that I have.
Alderman Langs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since our last meeting, I hadn't had any of my appointed boards meet, but I do this week have a DRUC as well as a DUV meeting. As always, I implore everybody to shop Tullahoma, and that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. And from me, I attended the Planning Commission meeting as well, and also the Airport Authority meeting. That's my report. So this time we'll have a report from our city attorney.
I don't have a report tonight in the interest of brevity.
Thank you. In the interest of brevity, we'll go to our city administrator, acting Mr. Wilson.
I'm kind of acting on both sides. This is from the finance director and administrator. The third reading on the amended budget, now, we will not be doing until next time because I didn't have sales tax. The June sales tax didn't come in until today. So I will have that for you next board meeting.
Very good. The sales tax numbers are up like they've been being. Okay, with that, we will go to our consent agenda. And the consent agenda was part of the packet that went out. I'll simply read the captions. 22-106 minutes from the last meeting. 22-107 set a public hearing for an ordinance City of Tellahoma to amend ordinance number 1540 adopting the annual budget. That's what you just referred to. And then 22-108 request to approve the purchase of 10 turnout gear sets for the fire department. $27,820. Item number 22-109 request to approve the purchase of fitness equipment from Design and Wellness for $14,296 for the Parks and Rec Department. Item number 22-110 is to announce a vacancy on the Tellahoma Utilities Board for a term ending August 31, 2022. I hear a board to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Dr. Blanks and seconded by Alderman Berry. Any discussion? Vote green for yes, approve, red for no. Consent agenda is approved 7-0. With that, we have one item under unfinished business. We'll go to that at this point. That's an ordinance to amend the code of ordinance for the city of Tellahoma. It's on the voting precincts. It's by deleting in its entirety and substituting a new section 111. But I'll ask Ms. Wilson for any background on that. If you care to, I believe Mr. Jordan has been working that
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd refer that to Jordan Wilkins for clarification on changes.
Yeah, thank you. Ordinance number 1583, this was on the agenda last time, and it was deferred to this meeting to make some changes. What this does is revise the Code of Ordinances to establish and update the voting precincts as determined by the Coffee County and Franklin County election commissions. And so we, as the request of the board, we deleted the precinct names that were there. It just lists the precinct numbers now. And it also references in here that the districts and precincts are created by the Coffee County and Franklin County election commissions.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Any discussion on that issue?
We need a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion from Blackwell and seconded by Barry. Vote green for yes and red for no. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. There is no other unfinished business. At this time, we have moving ordinance number 1582, an ordinance to adopt the Tellahoma 2040 Comprehensive Plan for passage on the first of two readings. Do I hear a motion to approve the ordinance?
For the sake of discussion, I will make the motion.
Yeah, I'll second.
We have a motion by Alderman Dunn,
No, second it.
seconded by Alderman McGee. The floor is now open for discussion. This was your motion, Alderman Dunn, so you
Yes, sir.
have first one.
Thank you. First, I wanted to thank our city planner and Winston Brooks and for all of their hard work on this and for there's as Mary mentioned earlier, there's been several thousand people who put in input for this. I had a very specific question that was that kind of went through my head as I heard some folks talking, and Mary, I don't know if you can help me answer this or not, but the PUDs that was mentioned several times, is this something, because, I mean, to me, it doesn't sound like something I really want in town, and it sounded like a lot of folks don't really want it either. Is there an ordinance that we could create that could prevent something like that?
Let me understand what, Mary Samaniego for the record, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're asking if there's an ordinance that we can create to prevent planned unit developments?
Yes.
Okay, so in your current zoning ordinance, and it's been in your zoning ordinance since 1988, there are provisions for planned unit developments. So this plan isn't creating any, this plan isn't creating a new process. So you've already have the process for planned developments in your current code, and it's been in the zoning code since 1988. You can certainly send this back to the Planning Commission, and they can consider removing the planned unit development option from the TNN category.
And is that, I mean...
The thought is that, I'm sorry, the thought is that the properties are in a low-density residential land use category. The TNN option, it's an option where the developer or property owner would have to apply for a planned unit development in order for them to present the formal site plan to the Planning Commission through a public hearing, and then ultimately to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for 2 hearings that show exactly what they're going to do, what the impacts to the infrastructure are. The city can control the timing. The city can control the improvements that are on the site. The city can control even the architecture of the buildings.
Okay.
So that was the idea behind having all TNN properties go through the PD process, so we could tightly control how the development would occur, how to phase it, and ultimately ultimately be able to deny it if it's having an adverse impact on the surrounding property owners or the city at large.
Okay, so by having this PUD in here, we've kind of got a way of being able to, giving us reason. We can't just deny somebody something for no reason, but by having these PUDs, like something outlining a PUD, it would give us the option to say, look, you didn't follow our architecture that we said, you didn't follow our sidewalks that you said, we certainly never wanted you to have any sort of shop here, so we don't want any of this stuff. So that gives the citizens and leadership the opportunity to have more input then.
Exactly.
So this is then a good thing then? Because I just want to be.
I can't speak if it's a good
well,
thing.
that's fair. I want to dispel as many fears as possible, and because
Okay, thank you, Alderman.
no,
Bennett.
I wasn't finished. I was just waiting for folks to stop talking,
Oh,
sir.
thank you.
I apologize.
I've been seeing.
Because I think we all are sitting here thinking the same thing, that we want slow and careful growth. And my concern is without the 2040 plan, we could invite exactly what a lot of people in this room are very fearful of. I do want to look at, I know Mr. Uline, and if you need to speak to me, or since I'm addressing you, he gave me very pointed, page by page, these are things that I'm concerned about, and I thought that was really helpful, and I think there were several folks here who did that. So, because this is a living document that we could go in and say, okay, let's delete this, which is why I believe some of you all saw red lines in there, was because it was the draft version that was on the website. But thank you.
Alderman Blackwell.
So I appreciated seeing the red line version because it allowed me to then go and ask you questions as to why, ask Mary Samaniego questions about why things were done. I think that the plan overall is in place and has taken in community input, but what I'm hearing from our community is that we haven't done a great job messaging to them after the input was brought to them. I think that I'm hearing also within our board confusions, or not quite confusions, but not all of us have sat on the planning commissions. 5 of us have, right? 5 of us have sat on, I think, right? 5 of us have sat on the planning commission, and this is the giant thing that we have to learn and understand when we go through and sit there. But I don't know if those processes that we have that safeguard our citizens, like what Ms. Dunn was just asking Ms. Samaniego about, I don't think our community understands those or is informed on those. For me, my main thing is I hear what they're saying. I have concerns about open space. I have concerns about ensuring that, I wasn't joking, that our wildlife are taken care of. I mean that I want to know that we're handling traffic well. And so because of that, I would like for us to have a study session where we can have more details, dive in more. And I would also like to talk about whether we need to send it back to the Planning Commission first to remove the TNN if that is the big concern. So that's kind of where my thought process is, because I know that as it is right now, I'm not prepared to vote on it tonight, and I'm not going to. I'm going to ask for a postponement.
Alderman Ogg.
Over every conversation that I've seen on Facebook and in this room and everything, I continue to hear the board saying, you don't understand, to the public.
Not all the board.
And not all the board, excuse me, Ms. McGee, I have not heard that from you. But I have heard it from several of the board members is, I think that there's some miscommunication. I think that you don't understand. And I'm looking at the audience tonight and the people that have spoken, and I come from a family of developers. I see many members of the audience here tonight who own residential property, commercial property. They've built houses in this town. They've worked with planning and codes. They've submitted different things. They know more about it than we do sitting here, because the members of this board, no offense to any of us, are not developers, and we are not home builders. And there are people in this audience who are. And I feel like there's been a ton of condescension with the you don't understand. And another peeve that I have, and I think it should go back to the Planning Commission, I will agree with you on that, is because it's my understanding that the Planning Commission did not even allow public comments in their special session. So these people could have come to that, no, they did not allow it in the special session.
Not true at all. Not true at all. We did. I was there for all 7 hours.
Maybe my information is wrong. But the problem is, I don't know that we need to stop speaking to the public as if they know less than us. Many of them know a whole lot more than us, and I'll be the first to tell you that. The other thing that I have, that I think is pertinent to this is our city administrator is not here tonight. And I've been told over and over and over again how important it is for us to conduct. We have postponed meetings because our city administrator is going to be out of town, because I've been told over and over how she needs to advise us as a board. I'm beginning to wonder if it is not purposeful that this is on the agenda tonight and she's not here.
Point of order, Mayor. That's out of line. That is out of line.
Well,
Alderman Berry, you're recognized.
I was not finished, but okay.
McGee was up next.
That's okay. I attended the public hearing that was held, and there were 2 words that were said that stuck out to me, and that I even asked questions after the meeting to some of the members on the Planning Commission. Those 2 words were implementing and adopting. And it came across as if actions are already taking place, that they're currently taking place. I'm sure that there was a lot of time and a lot of hard work put into this plan, but our citizens have legitimate concerns. I'm one for growth. Alderman Dunn said slow and careful growth. That's exactly what we need. But we can't be insensitive to the concerns of our citizens. I, for one, think that this plan needs further review of how it will impact these communities and ensure that we keep the citizens informed during the reviews until a happy medium is met by all involved. I know Alderman Almacher said us having a discussion would be considered a slap in the face, but I think it's important that we let the citizens know that we hear them, and that we need to do what's right by our citizens. I would also like to take this time to apologize publicly. I went back and listened to a interview that I had, and I was asked a question about the comprehensive plan. I was nervous, and what I said was people hear what they want to hear, but what I should have said was people heard what was said. So my apologies to you all for misspeaking. And I just want to clear up something else, that although I've enjoyed being an alderman, I thoroughly enjoy being an alderman, I don't do what's right to try to save my seat. I do what's right because it's the right thing to do. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Amen.
Further discussion? Alderman Berry.
I had already spoken with several of you out there, and I've already committed to you that I would postpone this meeting tonight. The reason that we have public hearings is so that we have the opportunity for the residents to get up and to speak, so that we can hear you and we can hear those concerns before we take any action on a vote. When something comes to the board for a public hearing, that doesn't mean that it's a done deal. That means that we want to hear you. I have said that there is miscommunications, and I agree. I stand by that. There have been miscommunications. There has been some misinformation, but I believe that falls on, while we think that we have done, and we have, I believe we have done a good job, but we missed the boat somewhere, obviously. Somewhere we missed the boat. There's a step we didn't take, or something that we could have tried a little bit harder on, or send an extra mailer. Somewhere there's something that we could have done. But we are here tonight, and we did hear you, and we have this opportunity to do this. There is information that I think that we do need to clear up. We need to talk about You know, what is a PUD? You've been able to, whether this passes or not, if we just said tonight straight down, you can still, in the city of Tullahoma, go request an R3, or you can still go request a PUD. I believe Kings Ridge is a PUD. We've got a PUD on West Lincoln Street. So there's PUDs all around Tellahoma. PUD's not a terrible thing. It can be, depending on who's sitting up here, right? But I think it's things like that that we need to kind of explain. And let me tell you, when I heard, it wasn't until a couple weeks ago that I heard that we had 537 homes coming. And when I'll tell you, when I first heard that, it scared the crap out of me. Because I know that we're short-staffed in our police and fire, and I know that we don't have the roads, and I know that we don't have the sewer capacity. And if that was sitting in front of us tonight, there's absolutely no way. I live on the complete other side of town. I'm on Linda Lane, and that would negatively impact me all the way over there. It would negatively impact anybody in the city of Tellahoma. So I am a proponent of growth, but I'm a proponent of growth as we can do the schools, as we can build roads. And so I am in favor of postponing this. I do think that the TNN, let's just pull that. I don't believe that that stops a PUD from going because it's in our ordinance, but maybe we need to sit down and look at our ordinances, existing ordinances, and say, well, we don't want PUDs in Tellahoma, so change that. Maybe that's a conversation that we need to have, because existing, there is nothing to stop you from requesting a PUD. And so I don't know if we postpone or if we just kick it back to the Planning Commission and say, we obviously need to have not just a study session. I don't think just a study session among the Planning Commission or among the board is what we need. I think that we need to have communication. I think that we need to have workshops. I would love to see if we tonight say, hey, we're going to stop, we're going to schedule a meeting open to the public. I would love, hopefully I'll see every single face here out at that meeting, because I think that it's extremely important. And I want you to use, I put my number on everything. I spent 6 hours, 6 hours on the phone just yesterday talking to people about that. And I want you to use it, because I want you to hear. On Facebook, I can kind of be short and crass sometimes, but when you sit down and you talk to me, I don't think it's not as bad. But I want to sit on your front porch and I want to hear you. It may only be for another month, but while I've got that month, all of our contact information, I think, is out there. So use it. We're your neighbors. We go to church with you. We sit in the pews. We see you in the school lines. Reach out and talk to us, because that's what we want to hear. The things that we don't hear. If I don't know that you don't want a TNN or that you don't want this, then I can't do anything. I can't do anything about that. So use our numbers, and I think as far as the board, I think the conversation maybe needs to be, yeah, let's not do anything with it right now, but decide on, I don't know that we need to have a study session amongst ourselves, but rather maybe look at a public workshop or meeting, or a perfect thing would be this, like the Save Tellahoma thing tomorrow night, where we could stand up and take questions or answer questions, but something maybe they have their own meeting, but maybe we schedule something like that people can attend, and we can sit and ask, and not just ask questions, but do what we did at this planning committee. At the planning commission, we went through this thing. That's what it was, 7.5 hours. We went through page by page, line by line. And so maybe we do that with the community, and we sit down and we go page by page, line by line, and if you've got input, you raise your hand. I know that we had the online thing, but maybe interactive is the better way to go.
I do believe I absolutely agree that we all need to be attending tomorrow night and listening to our neighbors, but it is concerning to the citizens, and I feel like I understand where the mistrust is coming in, because they didn't just start voicing concerns. At these meetings, 8 out of 10 of the public comments I were hearing were negative towards certain things in this plan, yet I never really got to hear or feel that I want to know from the collaborative group how those negative comments and that feedback was addressed, because then you go to the planning commission You guys have a 7-hour meeting and you unanimously vote towards something and vote yes to something that I heard 8 out of 10 comments were negative to. So to me, yes, we need to hear the public, but we don't need to just, pretend to listen. We need to take back what they say to us, like we've heard tonight, and we need to have a study session where we can say, you remember so-and-so, they said something about this right here. What can we do? And it needs to be, yes, we have to listen to them, but then we have to take what we've heard from them back to the drawing board ourselves and not throw all that, on our city planner, not throw all that on the city administrator. It's actually taken up for not being here tonight. And not throw all of that on one individual or the planning commission as a whole. It is supposed to be a community effort. We, through the democratic process, as a constitutional republic, are supposed to take what we hear from these guys and put it to something. Right now, we're just hearing in one ear, out the other, and going to go make a vote. That is why I said we should put off all voting, including even this conversation, until we've heard from them and the people who matter most.
At this time.
Mayor, that's what I said, just angrier.
Mayor, if I may address that comment, I thought that was absolutely untrue. This board is a very deeply caring board, and we are listening. That's why we are postponing. And I don't believe that the Planning Commission just looked at the plan and rubber stamped it, and I think that's not true. I just saw all those red lines. They were trying to make it better, and it's not finished. This is a living document. If after this passes, because it will pass, after this passes, a month from now, 2 months from now, a year from now, we're supposed to update it. We're supposed to go on page 84, paragraph 6 and say, I don't like that anymore, because it doesn't reflect what Tullahoma looks like anymore. We're supposed to do that.
Alderman Blackwell.
We are listening. We are listening hours a day, and we want to hear from you. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes it's said, and if you know me, I love Leslie Knope. I think she's absurd, but she says when I hear people yelling at me, they're carrying at me loudly. And that's because our community cares, and we are listening. I do, in the same vein as Ms. Dunn, I am listening, Alderman Almacher. I'm listening to them. I think everyone on this board is, and I think that we should trust each other to know that we are. One of the things that I think is broken, and one of the things I think we should talk about at some point, is that communication. When I say that the information out there, we are behind getting information out.
Yep.
Over and over again. I've said it many times in this building where I'm like, I think we need to have a full-time communications person to help answer questions, to help give us the information to get out to the community. I stand by that. I think that's our biggest miss right now in our community, is trying to, we are reactive rather than proactive in our communication. And that's a problem. That's the first miss I think we have. And now I'm going to make a motion to postpone this vote.
We have a motion on the floor
Oh,
first. We have to deal with the motion that we have.
Okay.
We have a motion, an ordinance to adopt. We have a motion and a second. And we've had extensive discussion. Is everyone ready to vote on the motion?
Point of order, Mayor. So we do have that motion on the floor, but a motion to postpone would supersede
That is
that.
correct.
Would supersede that
You can make a
motion.
motion to amend as well.
I would like to make a motion to postpone this vote and to send it back to a study session for the next meeting with the Planning Commission present, Chair Greg Sandlin, and if possible, the Walker Collaborative as well, for us to go in detail specifically on the TNN.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone. We have a second on that motion.
Who made the second? I did.
Gary.
Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to that motion. Normally in our study sessions, it's just us
true.
speaking. So what I would like to ask is that we add time to the study session, either at the beginning or at the end, to get some feedback And maybe it's, if a group wants to come with a list of items or, changes or things like that, or just to hear. But normally in study session, public
That's
doesn't
right,
get to talk.
I forget that.
So I'd like to amend it to include time for, and I'd love to see our city administrator shorten our agenda.
I'll second that amendment.
You want to have a study session with public comments?
With public comments. Yep, or public participation.
Public comments prior to our study session, which is this group.
Yeah.
Prior or after?
Prior.
Prior to
Yeah,
the study
so we
session.
can
So we can
talk about
address.
the things that they
yeah.
bring to us.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone till our next meeting, a study session which will include public comments at the beginning of the meeting. Any further discussion on that motion to postpone?
Yes. I know that we said that it would just be at the beginning of the meeting, but I think with something this big, perhaps we could open it up as a roundtable for certain citizens that maybe haven't gotten to participate. I mean, I understand the whole point of having it before, but I'm not sure that that's enough. I mean, I'm not sure that that's enough. Is there a way for us to maybe have a town hall or I mean, I think that's what we're asking for is a study session, but I would like to have the public more involved at the study session than just being able to make comments.
Can I?
Please.
I want to amend the amend.
Okay.
I would like to ask to do this, that we postpone the vote until such time Jordan Wilkins and the city administrator have had time to come back to us with a town hall type setting, unless we want to have a study session to discuss how we're going to have it. I think we just skip, I think we skip that point.
Well, if I may speak to that, I know there's already a public, it's not a town hall exactly, but this group is meeting tomorrow.
Right. I would want them to be able to ask questions.
What I was proposing, just because for timeliness, there's already a meeting happening tomorrow night that I think a vast majority of these folks here are going to be at.
We're not allowed to, we can't convene at a thing like that
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I
without
gotcha.
public
I
notice.
gotcha.
So as a
Okay.
board, we can
Okay.
individually attend, but we
I
can't.
understand. Okay,
We can't do this. So I guess that's what I would,
okay.
is do we need to have a study session to have to decide? That's my question is, are we having, what are we deciding in that study session on what format that we're going to do, or?
No, I think you're right.
If we have a meeting like that with it, we'll have to make an
Public
announcement.
notice,
It'll
yeah.
have to be public notice. It'll be a timely notice and listed in the newspaper and go through the agenda like that for this study session.
We do the same thing we did at one of the schools or the charrettes. I think the charrette was a great activity that I don't think a lot of people, I don't see many, the charrette was a great idea. So maybe we plan something like that, but leave it up to,
Should we have a study session prior to that as a board to make sure we understand the plan before we go to meet with the public?
I mean, I understand the plan,
So
but-
study session with the walker and like you were saying, and then have the town hall. I would like to have both of those things before this comes back to us for a vote, I think is what I'm trying to say.
I mean, we're here tonight. If we don't understand the plan amongst ourselves, we can ask those questions amongst
Is
ourselves.
Walker Collaborative Group here?
But I don't have questions. I mean, I
Is our
understand
city
the plan.
administrator here? I mean, there's people here that can't answer my questions.
That's okay. Then that's what we're getting at, is you don't have,
And-
you don't.
And I'd like to say something, is that if Alderman Allmacher is saying, what I'm hearing is that she wants to be able to have a study session with all of us so we can discuss I am in agreement. It is strange that we're doing this without our city administrator here. Absolutely. So
Let's do both.
I'm down for that. So I'd like to, where are we at with? So my mind is postponed to have a study session next meeting with all of us on the board to discuss and be able to deep dive with Mr. Sandlin. He is the chair of the Planning Commission. And then to also at that study session have a proposal from our city administration and staff on how to have that,
Have an effective town hall,
yes.
yes.
Yes,
That would be my
let me ask-
motion.
Let me ask a question of our acting city administrator. Do we have time for a public notice for such an event?
Public notice, before what meeting? When are you looking?
We're asking to do a study session with public engagement at that meeting.
That's,
Well-
no, that's not what I was saying, sorry. I
It would be
said
two separate meetings.
Two separate meetings. The first would be a study session with us in the next meeting, if possible, with the Walker Collaborative and our Planning Commission. And then the second would be during that study session for them, for our city administration and staff to come to us with a plan to then hold a public meeting after that fact.
Town hall with Q&A.
Yes, that's the words.
Okay.
And then
The motion, the motion that we have on the floor is postpone until we have a study session with Walker Collaborative, if possible, present, Planning Commission present, and our city administrator and city planner present to answer our questions among us. From that, we will evolve another town hall meeting where we'll invite the public. Is that the motion that?
That was my
you want to
motion.
make?
Correct.
And we have a second on that, and we've had that discussion.
The second was
Second.
Ms. Berry.
Sure.
Any of
Any
a
of them.
motion to postpone the vote on this item, bringing this item to the next board meeting for a study session with the planning chairman and, if possible,
Walker Collaborative.
Walker Collaborative.
So many.
We paid
So,
them
any questions about the motion?
They can come.
Wait, we're still not finished,
Have a
though.
meeting.
Then, after that meeting, to set up a town hall type meeting with questions and answers to be scheduled at a future date.
That's the motion.
Sorry. I was listening. Did we say, we just said postpone until we've had the study session, is what we're saying,
Study
right?
session Next, yeah, postpone until we have a study session next thing and set up all this other stuff.
And then have it after the town hall.
And you're saying, and you're.
Postpone this from the agenda until after the town hall.
This vote will not take
Next
place after the town hall.
Next board meeting,
Postpone to us, postpone and move this to a study session.
at the next board meeting.
Yes, sir.
Jordan has a comment.
Mayor, I don't have the code or the charter in front of me, but I believe it says, if I remember correctly, that study sessions can only be held after a board meeting. So you might want to be careful with the language you're using, because I don't think a town hall would qualify as a study session. So
The study session isn't the town hall.
No.
The study session is happening at the
First.
next meeting, and it is an actual study session after
We can
the
do
board
this,
meeting.
we can do
Town
the
hall
study
will be
session after our
separate.
regular board meeting.
Yes.
Any further questions, any further discussion on that? Agreeing to postpone?
Wait. Please, let me clear the board.
Agreeing to postpone and red to not postpone.
Green to postpone.
Oh, green to postpone, right?
Yes.
Wait.
Green to postpone.
Yes, ma'am. Wait.
We got it clear.
Green to postpone.
Do it again?
This is how we all get messed up right here.
Green to postpone. Everyone has cast their vote. Drum roll.
Postpone 6 to 7.
Mayor, point of order. Meetings are not supposed to last past 8 PM. It's in our rules.
It's in our rules.
We can vote to continue.
We can move to continue.
We're going to do one other thing right at this point.
It was supposed to be 7:30, yes. we
There's
already
some
broke
people
it.
that are going to be.
Sorry,
Are we voting?
At this point, I'm going to adjourn the meeting for a 5-minute recess.
No.
think we need to-
Adjourn the meeting, period. Can't last past 8 PM.
Mayor, I make a motion to,
Cannot. No, you cannot. It's in our rules.
Study sessions can't go past 8 p.m.
can't, board can.
Study
If
sessions.
there's a motion to
The board can.
That is incorrect. Under no circumstance can it last past 8 PM.
Jordan, do you have a copy of our policies?
Study session.
do you want to let them know that we're still in session if they can?
Board meetings can't last past 7:30, and study sessions can't last past 8 PM. In any capacity, we're past 8 PM.
Mr. Mayor,
We're still in a meeting.
But we can use.
I just wanted to.
We can vote.
You can vote to extend the actual board meeting
That's what we're
until
doing.
8 o'clock.
No,
Until-
I don't think it says until 8. It just, indefinitely. Yeah.
So I'd like to make a
Mr.
motion
Mayor,
to
if I-
extend the meeting.
I would just like to part, but I'd like
Great.
to.
Let's vote on that, please.
So what is this?
We're motioning
Motion to
to extend the
finish.
meeting.
There's
Yeah.
nothing on here
I
that
would
we
just-
can put off until the next meeting.
And we're going to take a
Sorry,
5-minute break.
the noise behind me is a little distracting.
We're in recess, we can't hear anything you're saying, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
We're in recess and I can't hear anything you're saying, so hold just a moment.
Okay.
important to me.
Seconded by blanks, and we voted. We can do a show of hands if we need to.
Yeah.
Seconded by blanks.
Vote to extend indefinitely.
A 5-minute break. 5-minute break, yes?
Yes,
5-minute recess.
yes.
I'm so Hey, listen, you know where I'm at?
Okay, the board will be back in session.
Thank you.
Mr. Sear, I'm going to make an exception to our normal rules, but I want to recognize you. I don't want to be disrespectful for any person who's wishing to address the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor and Board of Aldermen, I just want to offer any apologies, especially to the Mayor Pro Tem Blanks. While I may have disagreed with your comment and motivation for moving forward with the plan, I feel that I might have been a little disrespectful in my impassioned ways. That's tends to be who I am. And I just want to make a public apology to you, and I want to make a public apology to you as well. I think I might have cross-talked across the room before. Just with the constraints of this type of setting for a meeting, and just not really being used to that, I think I kind of got caught up in that, and I do just want to offer my apologies.
Thank you very much for that. We do appreciate that. The entire board appreciates that.
I'm sorry, what was your name?
Mr. Sear.
Ray Sear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And we'll move now to
Number 8.
item number 8 on your agenda. That's item number 1580, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Tellahoma, Tennessee, is set forth in Tellahoma Municipal Code, which is ordinance number 1392 to rezone approximately 2.3 acres located on 95 Ovoca Lake Road. That's from RS1, Low Density Residential District, Coffee County, to R1, Low Density Residential District in the city. This is for passage on the first of 2 readings. Get a motion?
Move to
Motion from
approve.
Barry, seconded from Blackwell.
Blackwell, who made the first motion?
Barry.
Barry. Thank you, guys.
In discussion? Seeing no discussion, vote green for yes and red for no. Motion passes. That ordinance passes 7-0. Ordinance number 1581, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Tullahoma, Tennessee, set forth in the Municipal Code 1392 to rezone approximately 0.5 acre parcel located on 701 East Grizzly Street and 4406 North College Street, and that's in group parcel 15 and 18.03 from R2, which is medium density residential, to R3 high density residential district in Tellahoma. For the passage on first of 2 readings. Motion from Barry.
Second.
Second from Blanks. Any discussion? No discussion, vote green for yes and red for no.
So quiet.
It's lovely.
And that passes 6-1. In your agenda packet, item number 11 is ordinance number 1584, an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinance of Tellahoma, Tennessee by amending Chapter 2 of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen, section Special Rules of Order by substituting a new section 1-203 that reflects the Board of Mayor and Aldermen have adopted by resolution 1895 special rules of procedure for passage on the first of 2 readings. Motion for Barry.
Second.
Seconded for Blanks. Any discussion? Vote green for yes and red for no. And that passes 7-0. Item number 22-111. Consider approval to designate as surplus real property the sale of an area of 50 feet wide, 810 feet long, it's 40,500 square feet inside the East Deckard Street right-of-way. That's adjacent to 343 South Anderson Street, 403 South Anderson Street, 407 East Deckard Street, and 409 East Deckard Street, and 415 East Deckard Street. I'll get a motion. Motion for Barry, second for Blackwell. Any discussion? No, vote green for yes and red for no. That passes 7-0. Item number 111 is to consider the approval of designated surplus real property 117, that's downtown on West Lincoln Street.
And we
It's
pulled that
112.
No, we
It's 112.
did.
Yeah, we withdrew that.
No, we withdrew
Carroll, right?
14.
Carroll Street.
Just the
The
Carroll.
14.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were on that one. Sorry. Apologies.
2212, 112.
112. So
Vote green
Sorry.
for yes and red for no.
We need a motion.
We need a motion.
Motion by
Motion from
Dunn.
Barry, seconded by Dunn.
I'm so happy to see that.
Me too.
112 West Lincoln Street.
And may I ask a question about that? I know we've been here for forever.
Discussion.
Is there a buyer?
We have an RFP soliciting the buyer.
Okay.
We're ready for yes and ready for no. It passes 7-0. We have already deleted item number 22-113 for consider approval to designate a surface property on 411 East Carroll Street to further negotiation with the current leasee of that building. Item number 22-114 is considered adoption of the 2022 Comprehensive Parks and Recreation Department. That's the master plan submitted by David Anderson
Move to approve.
and Barry's second.
I have
Discussion.
And this might be a question for Mr. Anderson. One of the things that was brought to me and has been brought to me over and over again is not in here. And I was wondering if there was any feasibility to add it in at D.W. Wilson itself. There's 2 ADA concerns I keep getting from people regarding the entranceway and being able to bring a scooter or any kind of handy-capable things with making those turns and being able to get in. If there's a feasibility to add improvements of that into it, as well as, and this has come up before, an adult changing table. Those are the 2 things I would really, really like to see in here. We have, and I didn't know if that was something we could add to this.
Absolutely, and Alderman Dunn made a really good point as far as all of these plans, any of these planning plans. The advantage of the purpose of these master plans is for it to be a living, working document. The purpose is to change. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for guidance to change. Once we've made these changes, then we can move on and add or delete as necessary for all of these plans. But yes, ADA improvements are definitely a part of the plan. I'm not sure if they were specified in each of our suggested.
They were on a lot of them, but not D.W. Wilson. And that's why I wanted to amend this, probably to add ADA improvements to D.W. Wilson. And that's this is specific. I know it's specific, but I know that we have people who are in need of that.
No, for sure. And that was part of the improvements throughout the city. We're trying to designate money each year for our ADA transition plan improvements. Okay. And yes, we can definitely include that and add to the plan.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a motion and a second to approve. Would we like to amend that to include direction to Director Anderson
to look at, yes, I'd like to amend to add ADA approved improvements to D.W. Wilson, including an adult changing table.
Second?
Second.
As needed.
Are we going to add money for them too?
I mean, well, we don't have any money in here for now.
Any further
But I bet we can apply for grants.
Wait, who did the second?
I did.
Blank.
I did.
Any further
Dave can make it happen.
I have a question about the dehumidifier in the indoor pool. I saw
Yes,
a
sir.
thing that it was not working properly.
It's working okay. It's dated, and it's in need of repairs. Now, that was for I think it was a midterm solution, so that would be in the next 5 years.
That is how old? It's 8 years old?
It's older than that for the indoor pool.
10? It's not much more than 10.
Right, and they only last about 15 years.
Okay, I would highly recommend that we really push that, because that's why we had to redo the indoor pool.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
We rotted down the superstructure because we didn't have any kind of way of mitigating that, and it just, it closed down that pool for about 2 years. So
We voted on something with that indoor pool like 2 years ago. Was it not the dehumidifier? What?
I think it was a pump.
A pump. Okay, so, all right, sorry. All right.
Real quick.
But yes, we can bump that priority up. If we need
Well,
to.
that may save us having to replace that shell again in 15 years or whatever.
I know that we're running late, but this is a really big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we kind of stole Director Anderson's thunder and didn't give him an opportunity to briefly explain, because there are public watching as well tonight, just kind of briefly explain what it is and why the benefits of having this plan and the grants and the monies and
and in our the beginning of our plan, the goal of the system-wide Parks and Rec master plan is to provide an inventory and an analysis of the existing conditions, followed by recommendations to better serve the community's needs. These recommendations will be provided as achievable and actionable strategies to serve as a framework for the Tullahoma Parks and Recreation Department over the next 10 years. This plan will help guide the city of Tellahoma through management and operations of parks and recreation, as well as improved and additional recreational facilities and amenities based on Tullahoma's unique needs. So basically, it's a framework of what we're wanting to do to improve the department over the next 10 years. It also does satisfy our requirements for local parks and recreation funds, that grant, which is an 80-20 grant that comes out every couple of years, as well as a recreational trails program grant. One of the primary recommendations that came from the public was to increase our greenway system that we recently renamed for Lane and Evelyn Curley. That's a priority of one of our newer projects that we need to do, and we need to look at these recreational trails program grants as a way to make these improvements.
Thank you, Director Anderson. We have a vote. We have a motion to approve this plan with the amendment. And the ADA compliant south with south down there.
We have not voted on the amendment.
That's what we're going to do right now. Just to vote on that amendment. Green for yes and red for no. And that passes 7-0. Okay, now we can vote on the original motion with the amendment attached. Green for yes and red for no. It's approved 7-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There being no other new business. This is anything someone else wants to bring up. This meeting will be adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Line is the fence around us had two guards walking the fence line. I'm not sure what the two guards. I mean, this isn't 47. Had no idea what the guards were doing, but you know what we kids would do is we would occupy the guard if he was over here, and the other guy was over there at this point. This area here actually went down slightly. So what we would do, get about 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. Occupy this guard here, and the rest of us would slide down, get underneath the fence and go everywhere. We had a ball. I could write a book of the stuff that we did in Wood City. But after about a year, no, less than a year, I think maybe 8 months, the guards were gone. So they just said, you know, what's the point? So we were basically, you know, we couldn't come and go. You know, obviously couldn't. Where do we go? I didn't even speak English. It was a big issue, a big problem. We learned our English. Well, anyway, I talked about that, family, blah, blah, blah. English, yeah, English was a big problem. We learned our English from the GIs, and it was basically pure profanity. Everybody, you know, they see the little kids running around practicing their English, and it was terrible. So then one fine day, of course, the kids had to go to school. And you could see 50 kids all practicing, anxious to practice their English. I remember going into my father one day and I said, I learned a new English word and it's sandwich. And I said, oh, I don't know what that is. My father said, well, you know, keep practicing, you're doing good. so you know, it was just one of these problems. And, but anyway, I had to go to school, and the school was